Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this first return back to some online rum tastings. Something that we did over the COVID period, and then we thought now we're back out and we can all come back out again. We'll do it in person. But we heard quite a few of you mention to us that you wanted some online tastings again to be able to bring that feel back. So we heard you and we wanted to move on for you the start of this year and see how we get on from here. So my first big thanks is to the brands that are currently with us, who joined us for this event. It's a bit strange, I'm sure, for them to go back to this kind of format compared to what they must be used to doing at the moment of going out to bars, going out to particular tastings. Actually, to be able to sit down and do this again, probably a bit nostalgic. And some of them probably weren't around or doing tastings around COVID time, so it's still quite new to them as well. Our second thanks is obviously to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you. Thank you for joining and wanting to kind of be a part of this bit of nostalgic hit, but also maybe something that we keep doing every once in a while. Keep this kind of it going. So that's kind of where we stand today. And you guys have any questions before we get cracking on? Feel free to drop them in the chat or to unmute yourself and give me a little talk. I'm happy to do that too. All about a bit of feedback. Okay, right, let's get cracking straight on then to our first brand. So we're actually really delighted to be able to start us off from the sugarcane fields of Cambodia. We've got, I saw him a minute ago.
I'm here, Antonio.
There he is. So we have two very special rums coming all the way from Cambodia called Samai. Here's the couple of bottles. This is for you guys to see 4 bottles. You should have 2 drams in your pack. So please grab the 2 drams that say Samai here. And I am going to actually be delighted to pass you technically from the sugarcanes of Cambodia via London River into Florida to Antonio. So nice and international as we always like to do. Antonio, over to you, sir.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You might be muted.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh no, can you? All good.
Okay. So yeah, so thank you everybody for joining here. I'm super delighted to show us a little bit about our story. I'm actually in Florida because Cambodia right now it's 1:30 in the morning, 1:45 a.m. I am one of the founders of Samai Distillery, so I was there from the beginning. It was my idea together with my co-founder, Daniel Pacheco. So I'm taking over for them to, unfortunately, I cannot show you the distillery, but I have some nice barrels here on my back to, to give you the feel. I'm going to share, can I get permission to share the screen, please? Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have the drums myself, but I know the taste, so I can guide you for sure. Okay, I have, yes, yeah. I think I have it here now. Can you see it?
Yes, all good.
Awesome. So yeah, so I'm going to talk about Samai rums from Cambodia, right? So 1 second. So actually, yeah, so in 2010, I actually was living in Singapore and I went to Cambodia as a tourist and stayed for 10 years. So that's how much Cambodia, absorbed me. And being there, I met Daniel Pacheco, which is, we studied together in high school back in Venezuela. We're both from Venezuela and coincided there for different reasons. And living in Cambodia, we saw sugarcane in every corner, right? Fresh sugarcane juice in every corner, sugarcane fields everywhere, but there was no local rum. So that for us made no sense. So we embarked on the mission to actually build Cambodia's first rum distillery and rum brand from scratch. That was back in 2014, so we just turned 10 years a few months ago. And so far, we're already in around 7 to 8 different markets in Europe, in Asia, and hopefully soon. Actually, that's why I'm here at the moment looking at the US market. So Samai, for those who don't know the word Samai, it's actually a Khmer word for modern, new generation, a daydream, looking towards the future. And actually, since we started this in 2014, our first person we hired was Madame Moang Darachampik. She's a chemical engineer. She had a master's in fermentation towards towards the rice wine and rice spirits, because no one there knew anything about rum, right? We created the first distillery, but she has been with us still until today as our master distiller and production manager, creating the Cambodian rums. And we do the whole process, right? So we buy molasses, and we do the whole process of fermentation, distillation, aging, blending, bottling, putting the label, everything. We do it in-house in our distillery in Phnom Penh. The natural resources of Cambodia are quite unique, right? So as mentioned, we have a lot of sugarcane, but we also found that we have Kampot pepper, which is considered one of the best peppers in the world, the only pepper with a denomination of origin, and you can only find it in Cambodia. So we have a spiced rum, which is the Kampot pepper rum, which is one of the ones that you have. And honey, we found that there's a lot of different organic honey. So we use a bit of honey for as an additive before bottling, right? But in very small quantities. I'm giving you a very quick intro, so I don't know if you want to jump straight to the tasting or I have time to continue with a little more intro.
I think that's up to you, Antonio. Maybe a few more minutes of intro would be very good.
Sure.
I'm very interested. I've never heard anything from Cambodia.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So Cambodia. So as you may know, if you know a little bit of the history of the sugarcane, actually the sugarcane plant originated from that region of the world, right? Some people say Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, in that area. So us being in that area, we believe that, we all also say that I'm from Venezuela, where we have a lot of passion of rum, same as Daniel, but sugarcane originates from that region, let's say Indonesia or Southeast Asia. So we are kind of like using our Venezuelan, let's say, rum traditions, but bringing them back to the origin of the actual sugarcane, right? In Cambodia, as you may imagine, you find a lot of the fertile soil and the climate to grow very high quality sugarcane. Not only the quality of sugarcane is very high, but also the quality of molasses, which is what we use. Being from Venezuela, we wanted to really make it more like Spanish style molasses-based rum. So the sugar mill industry there is very inefficient. So when they sell us the molasses, they're actually coming with very high percentage of sugars, around 80, above 80 bricks. So that's a quite also interesting high quality molasses that we get. Also of course, a lot of ample sources of natural and clean water. And we also have the Kampot pepper, which is considered the best pepper in the world. So a very interesting region in terms of natural resources and climate. That means that also for the part of the maturation process in the barrels, we're talking about temperatures of around 40 degrees Celsius, around above 80% humidity. So for the aging process is actually quite fast and quite good in terms of the environment for aging. This is a small picture of our distillery, where we create pretty much everything, although we just rented a new space. So this space that you see here became the brand house, where we still have a pot still running every day, but it's more for tours and as a bar. But then we also have another factory where we're transferring at the moment the whole production process. So this is our main portfolio, right? We also have single cask, and we're doing already also ready to drink cocktails, but this is our main, let's say, portfolio. And today you're going to be trying the two in the middle, right? So if we go from the left, we have the white rum. White rum is still aged for around 2 years in ex-bourbon barrels. And then we do a charcoal filtering process to extract the color, and it's around 50% pot still and 50% column still. Then the second one, the gold rum, which right now we changed the name to aged gold rum that you're going to try today. That is a blend of around 10 to 12 different barrels. And inside there, you're going to find some ex-bourbon, some new French oak, American oak, and sherry cask. Sometimes it's Pedro Jimenez, sometimes it's Oloroso, depending on the batch. And you will have roughly, because every batch is a bit different, you will have roughly around 80% pot still and 20% column still. The youngest we will age is 2 years, and there's no law in Cambodia because we're the first rum distillery. But being from Venezuela, we wanted to give that. In Venezuela, it's at least 2 years aging to be called rum. So that's what we do in Cambodia as well. But then you could find barrels of up to 5 years to 6 years in that blend as well. We bottle it at 41% alcohol, and we add a bit of organic honey from Cambodia that we buy from an NGO, but it's in a very small amount. Then we have the Campot Pepper rum, which is the second rum that you are going to try today. And let's try it in this order, right? First, we try the aged rum, and then last, we will try the Campot Pepper rum. So Campot Pepper, yeah, considered the best pepper in the world. Denomination of origin, grows in a very small area of Cambodia. And it's controlled by an organization from Europe to make sure that they produce as high quality as they can. I think in Europe, you find it for around 200 euros per kilo. So it's also very expensive pepper. So when we found this pepper in Cambodia, we wanted to do a spice rum. So we knew that spice rums, you always have the vanillas, the cardamom, the pepper as well, right? The clove. And we thought that if we have the best pepper in the world here in this country, why add so many other different spices? So we tried with only one spice. So this is purely Campot pepper, and that's right now our flagship product. And we also have a PX rum liqueur from Pedro Jimenez. It is a liqueur because there's actually a high amount of actual Pedro Jimenez in the blend. So what happened was that we bought a lot of Pedro Jimenez barrels from Spain, and we asked them to be full, some of them, not all. And so we started experimenting, and one of them, it was almost half full, and then we added some of the gold aged rum at 65% alcohol. That's how we age it. And Pedro Jimenez, it's, if I'm not mistaken, around 20. So it kind of balanced out, and it's bottled at 40%, and it's just an amazing liquid, but it's more of a liqueur. So I believe we could be ready for a tasting now, if you haven't already.
I think, yeah, let's get some tasting. Yeah.
So first, let's get the gold rum, the aged gold rum. Yes. So if you see it visually, right? So first you will see it's kind of like golden, very light amber. The colors is completely natural from the aging process, because when we add honey such in a small amount that it doesn't really change the color. So that's natural from the barrels. As mentioned before, there are around 4 different barrels there. So you will find the ex-bourbon, you will find the French oak, the American oak, and some sherry cask, at least for 2 years. Here it says up to 4 years. I believe right now we're already reaching the up to 5 years in the blend. I don't think I mentioned before, but fermentation is around 6 to 7 days. So you have very long fermentations. Actually, normally after only 2 days, after 48 hours fermentation is normally complete, but we leave it those extra days because we found out doing experiments that's what's giving us the profile of the Samay rums because of all the other compounds that are being generated. On the nose, so yeah, normally you will feel some notes of vanilla, oak, honey. It's about 41% alcohol, 80% pot still, around 20% column. Is there any other flavors that you can notice?
Anybody, if you've got any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat, or later on, I'll see if there's anything I'm muting that we can help with Antonio, help him ask some questions at that stage there. But also, yeah, if you have any flavors or anything, feel free to chuck it into the chat so that you can get their feedback at the same time. Antonio, a quick one for you that Nat put in earlier. She wanted to know if they're available in the UK yet, and if they are, what's your expected kind of retail price?
So we didn't officially are in the UK, although we have seen it from the Whiskey Exchange. We have seen before that they have listed it. So maybe they got it from La Maison de Whisky, which is our distributor in France. But then they sold out. So right now we are not officially yet in the UK, but that's something that we're working on at the moment. But to give you a price perspective, taking into as an example France, the gold age rum, it's around 50. It's in the 50 euros. And the Campo Pepper one that you're gonna try next is in the 60s.
Very helpful, very helpful. Thank you. Question for you on the gold, Antonio. You mentioned you add a little bit of that organic fair trade honey into the gold. Is that done with each barrel separately, or do you wait until you blended it and then?
After the blend, correct.
After the blend, okay.
Yes, so first we try normally around 40 different barrels.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on the variety of the barrels that we want, the color, and of course, all the different profiles that we need. And then from those 40, we start going down, narrowing to 30, 20, and then normally around 12 goes to each batch. As you can see, you can see it in you have a bottle number, right?
Yes.
You have a batch and a bottle number.
Yes, the bottle number is 774 and the batch number is 19.
Correct, so 19 is the last batch. And the bottle number 774, you will never find above 3,000 at the moment. So it's only a couple thousand bottles per batch.
Okay, so you're very much...
So after we mix, we blend all the 12 barrels, and then we bring it down from 65 to around 45. Then that's when we start playing around, like, okay, how much honey do we put here? And then we start adding the water more until we reach the 41%, which is bottled.
No, that makes perfect sense. Makes sense to me. You also mentioned this one's a blend of 50% pot still and 50% column. For me, I think the pot still is really easy to spot. I think Gary's put in that there's a medicinal note that reminds me of St. Lucian rum, which I guess is that column still notes coming through. We also have people saying it's very approachable. Which is the other question I wanted to ask is...
Sorry, just to clarify, this one is 80% pot still.
Oh, this one's 80%.
And 20% column. The 50-50 is the white rum.
Is the white. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that up. Would you recommend drinking this on its own in cocktails with Coke? Our market here in the UK, in general, most rums are drunk with cola or with lemonade with an easy mixer. Is this something that you would mix comfortably, or would you say no cocktails? Or
no, definitely. I mean, I love it neat as it is, but definitely with cocktails goes really well. And actually, that you mentioned the Coke, that's actually the most popular one that is being sold right now at the distillery. That's the one that people really ask. Coke, lime, Angostura bitters, and a fresh stick of sugarcane. And I think that's even a picture here. Yeah. So this is actually the picture of that. Sometimes I feel, yeah, like it sounds strange to actually recommend this, or you know, like, but actually we put it there because that's, even if we don't recommend it, that's what people ask the most in Cambodia, right? Not necessarily outside of the country, but normally if it's myself, how I like to drink it in which type of cocktails. Normally, when I put this in a Negroni de caña, that I call it, you know, it's beautiful. So this rum, the gold rum, with a bitter as a Campari and a vermouth goes really well. Also like a Manhattan style. Just this rum with a sweet vermouth, an orange peel. For me, personally, normally go towards the spirit forward cocktails like this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you want to show, you don't want to hide the spirit, you want to enhance it. I think they very, very true. We've got
Right.
Jen who said I think she's drinking it with ginger ale right now.
Okay.
Well, and Gary saying he'd mix it with an orange-based tonic. So that could be quite interesting too, I guess.
Definitely. Well, for the tonic, that's the one for the Campo Pepper. It's a spice Campo Pepper rum. With tonic, that will be for the next rum that we're gonna try. You actually don't need to add lime. You don't need to add anything else. It's because already the Campo Pepper rum brings so much forward that you just add ice and tonic. You don't need to add bitters. You don't need to add lime or anything else. It just matches beautifully. Yeah.
I think then that's a perfect time to move on to the Campo Pepper. Perfect segue.
Yeah. So this is the white, but unfortunately we're not trying it today. It's more tropical. You know, you get more the coconut, the bananas, and it's pretty much the same base as or similar base, right, from the gold rum, but it's there's more columns still here. And after doing the filtration, it kind of enhances all these tropical kind of flavors. But unfortunately, we're not going to try it. But that one with the daiquiri, it's amazing. This one, we're not trying either. Wait, it's not here. Ah, here. Okay. So this is a completely different animal. That's how I normally introduce this rum. It's very unique. I mean, there's no other distillery, at least for rum, doing something with a Campo Pepper spicy like this. So in this one, well, I already mentioned a couple times about, you know, the denomination of origin and the quality of this pepper, and how we, you know, wanted to make a spice rum without all the other spices. So when you drink this one, so first in the nose, it's distinctively pepper, of course, right? Then as you drink it, you will start developing some different notes like eucalyptus, guava, and of course the Campo Pepper. So I'm reading the comments. Neat with a splash. Yeah.
Jennifer and Chris are really loving the nose.
Yeah.
Says it's divine. Andrew says the pepper is very subtle at the start. Amanda's saying it's amazing. Matt saying delicious. Nat saying it's really daiquiri. Strangely soapy on the nose. Haven't tasted rum like this before. It's incredible. I think that's good feedback.
I guess so. So yeah, it's I mean it's still a rum in the sense that I mean all the process is rum, but in France or in Europe it will be called a spirit, right? Like how do you call it? The spirit drink.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much, I mean, but for us, when you know the technique and you know the production process, it's a spice rum. Yeah. So we do two processes as well, right? So we have the maceration. I mean, first there's a base of the gold rum, the aged component, it's there, right? Then we do a maceration with the pepper. which the pepper looks like this one. Some people imagine it as like a chili but it's actually peppercorns, which are dried like this. And we do a maceration for a few months, but then we also do one part, which is like a vapor infusion, like similar to to gin, where you put like a basket in the pot still, and you redistill the rum, and the vapors go through the basket and pulls all the flavors and aromas and spiciness from the pepper. And then that goes back to the blend. With the maceration and with the aged component.
Fantastic. Yeah. Stuart Henderson's really liking it. It's very interesting, nice aftertaste. Andrew says he doesn't buy many spice rums anymore, but he would get a bottle of this. It's very different in a good way. So that is,
awesome.
Yeah, really good feedback. Really good feedback.
So we need to get it to the UK. So we have right now a containers that just arrived in Denmark, and from Denmark in a bonded warehouse, that's where we can start sending to different European countries. But it just arrived a few weeks ago, so we're still in that process. So hopefully soon in the UK.
Fantastic.
So talking about cocktails, this is what I was mentioning before. This is just that Campo pepper rum with a bit of tonic water. You can see the color keeps like this pinkish orangey color. And that pepper, that's actually a garnish that's the same pepper, but this is a fresh pepper. The green one is fresh, and the red one is when it's already ripe and dry. And we use the red one because from that green one, you can get the black pepper, the red, and the white pepper, which means it's the same green pepper, but depending on the ripeness and depending on some of them are dried on the sun, some of them are boiled and then dried after, and that's how you get different types of pepper. And the red one is naturally sweet. So that's why we tried with all the different peppers, and we decided to make our product only with the red one.
I think that it's a lovely idea of using the dry, but actually garnishing with the fresh. I think it looks beautiful as well. Very, very good. Max said that he would like a nice ribeye steak on the side with this.
That's a nice one, yeah. Or some people have heard of scallops before, but ribeye is a good choice as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about some ribeye. Very good, very good. Antonio, when is it 2014? You said that you started in Cambodia.
Correct. Yes. So we just turned 10 years a few months ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Well, happy belated birthday. Many more to come. Many more to come. Does any other questions or any other feedback for Antonio would be fantastic. But, we've got Vicky said that she thinks the campo will be very good with some grapefruits. Nat said that there was a great presentation and lovely pics and wants to try the other ones as well. So yeah, Gary said the pepper hit is better than some medicine for clearing the sinuses. So that's good. Jennifer and Chris want this in Scotland ASAP. So it's, yeah, very good, guys. Do we have
I've got a quick question, if that's all right, Indy.
Please, please.
Hey, Antonio, great to see you.
Hey, Jess. How's it going?
I love the reaction to the brand. I think it's fantastic. These guys have seen over the last how many ever years brands come through the UK through our hands, and the reaction today has been great. I'd also like to throw in, if you have a Bloody Mary with that cam pepper pot, it's phenomenal. Really, really tasty stuff. But listen, like when I first met you, I was like super impressed. You know, you're Venezuelan doing fantastic pot column blended rum out of Cambodia, which, you know me, I love to tell the story of rum before it went to the Caribbean. So you've achieved so much. I know that you're in France or in Poland. You know, the quality of the fluid is there. What's the future hold for you? Where do you want to be in the next 4 or 5 years?
Well, thank you very much for those words and the question. So right now, at the moment, what we are looking for is, well, grow the production so more people can actually enjoy the liquid, because at the moment, we are a very small distillery and artisanal, and it doesn't mean that we want to become industrialized, not at all, but we definitely need to increase our production capacity. At the moment, just so you have an idea, we're only able to sell around 2,000 cases a year, which is a very small amount compared to many other brands. And the reason we don't sell more is because of a capacity, right? Because demand has been there, interest has been there, but we just so what we want to do is to continue increasing the capacity, keeping the quality, and not only keeping it, but improving it. Because I actually see, for example, today you're trying the batch number 19 of the aged-old rum. And I have seen how from batch 1 to, like every batch, it's actually step by step, like quality is going up, because at the beginning we started the first batch, it was 6 months old, right? Now we're talking about up to, well, this presentation said up to 4 years old, but I know it's up to 5 years right now. So, how we can continue growing, but actually continue, adding, I mean, we did 7-year-old bottling, but it was a single cask, not for this blend. So we wanted to keep it for a single cask. So single cask, we do have some 7-year-olds but we don't have a 10-year-old, because we used all the barrels at the beginning. So we never kept, we're 10 years old, but we don't have a 10-year-old cask. But I believe, sorry, to answer your question again, like the idea is to continue growing capacity, increasing quality, and being able to enter new markets, so we can, like people can try the liquids, and share what Cambodia is. Cambodia, nobody knew about Cambodia, and it was not on the map, on the rum map, right? And we did it 10 years ago. We put Cambodia there, but it's taking many years for people to actually see it. Or I still get questions, where is Cambodia, right? So that's something that this origin, is that something that we're trying to, educate and bring forward.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, I look forward to watching this journey happen, man. It's fantastic fluid, and thank you for making it. Thank you for showcasing it to everyone on the call.
No, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Antonio. Just a very, very quick question. That's just the last question in for Gary. He wants to know where you source your bourbon barrels from.
Where do we source them from? Sorry,
Yes.
What was the question?
Your bourbon barrels.
Yeah, so the first set we got was from Kentucky, right? From Kelvin Copper Rush. That was our first set. But then they were in over demand, so we were on a waiting list for a couple of years. So we had to start sourcing from other sources. But normally the majority are from Kelvin Copper Rush in Kentucky. But we're looking for more. And I guess that's maybe why the question comes in, because it is tough right now to find at least quality ones. We found a source a couple of years ago, and it was not what you really want. But yeah, from Kentucky we get them. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your information. Guys, I think that's Antonio and Samai's part of the presentation. If anyone has any other questions, Antonio, how can people reach you directly or reach the brand if they've got more, if they want to know more about you guys?
Definitely. So our Instagram is, well, Samai Distillery, all together. That's how you can get. And normally it will be our marketing manager who receives all the messages. I think that's the best way, or info@samaidistillery.com. If you change the info to Antonio at samaidistillery.com, that will come to me. That's where you can reach me directly. And my Instagram is I am Sir Byron, with dots, I.am.sir.byron. And that I can also guide you if you contact me or contact the distillery directly, and that will be. And if you want to contact Danielle, which is my co-founder, the email just will be danielle@samaidistillery.com. If you want my WhatsApp, I can also send you. I will write everything in the chat for you.
That would be perfect. Yeah, thank you, Antonio. So
Perfect.
once again, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, we've got Cambodia, UK, we've got Florida. It's a lovely kind of global experience with you guys. I hope that you've got some great feedback. I think it's been really well received, especially the Kampot pepper, something very different, very unique. Sugarcane fields of Cambodia, the only place doing something really special in Cambodia at the moment. So it's so great to have you on. And I hope we get to see more of Samai in the UK and more of it going forward in general across the world.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Happy to know that you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Guys, great. Thank you so much, Antonio. If we can make sure we rinse out glasses, get some water in, clear your palettes. We'll take a quick 30 seconds to do all of that. Clear out, and then we'll go straight on to our next brand. I can see Adi already here waiting, ready to rock and roll. So
Adi looks sleepy, man. Adi looks sleepy.
I mean, to be fair,
it's almost 12:46 a.m. over here, but I'm sure Antonio is further east from us, so it's even a later night for him.
Antonio is in Florida. His team is in California.
Okay.
He's actually much earlier. You're actually the furthest east at the moment, Adi. Joining us from India, we've got one of the co-founders of Sitara spiced rum from India. Here's a bottle to show you guys, which is heavy. That might be a little bit better on lighting. And we're delighted to have the co-founder Adi with us, who's going to talk to us about brand new spiced rum. All the way from India. So hopefully you guys have all your waters. I think everyone's back on screens. Everyone cleared out glasses. Yeah, from what I can see. Perfect. Adi, I'm going to pass over to you, sir. Yeah, please take it away.
All right. I'm on my iPad, so just give me a second to figure out how I can share my screen on this. Just give me a second.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem.
So maybe we'll do a little small introduction into how we know Adi and Sitara, Andy.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Jazz. So Jazz actually met Adi over in Mumbai in the back end of 2023 at a big trade show, and we really were impressed with what Adi's doing with his distillery, with their product, and we thought, oh, it's actually something we think is really very tasty. And then over discussions over the past 9 months from that point, we were really happy that we were able to work with Adi and able to help bring Sitara into the UK market here. Something which we're really very proud of, and trying to spread the lovely word of this very, very tasty rum. I think we're almost there, Adi. You can see it on the right.
Guys, can you see my screen?
We can see it on the right. On the left-hand side, you've got, it still says Zoom. You are sharing screen, but on the right, we can see your PDF.
All right. Let's give it one more second if I can figure this out. Otherwise, I can either start like this, or Indy, I can have this file sent over to you on WhatsApp, and maybe you can put it up.
You can send it to me.
All right. Cool. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Hopefully a bit easier. Fingers crossed.
Cool, guys. So guys, welcome to this rum tasting session. I'm joining you guys all the way from India. Sitara is one of the newest and one of the first entrants into the rum scene from India. Whenever you guys think of India, rum is not the most obvious produce of India that comes to light. But as some of you might know, India is one of the largest producers of sugarcane. And if we go down in the history books, some history books say that the first form of distillation we're talking about in the ancient Indus Valley civilization actually happened in India. So while rum has its origins in the Western regions, some evidence also says that, rum in its most, traditional form originated in India all the way back with the Indus Valley civilization. So Sitara comes from Sanskrit word that literally translates into the stars. And our parent company is called Spaceman Spirits Lab. Personally, I'm a big space enthusiast. Apart from rum, we also have a gin called Samsara. And at Spaceman Spirits Lab, all the spirits, craft spirits that we like to make are somewhat inspired by the celestial wilderness. So today we're here to talk about our spiced rum. Our spiced rum is a very unique form of rum. So this is a blend of 3 different kinds of sugarcane rum. So namely, we've got rum that is made from cane juice, molasses, as well as jaggery. These are a blend of both column and pot distilled rums that first sit in Virgin American oak barrels and are then infused with 7 different spices. Now, these spices range all the way from cinnamon, ginger, orange, hibiscus, vanilla, coffee, and cacao beans. The spices give this rum a very distinct Indian character. So if we were to, get into the tasting notes, and of course, we'll talk about the tasting notes more in detail as soon as we begin the tastings, you're going to get a lot of mango, you're going to get a lot of tropical notes, you're going to get some spicy honey in there, you're going to get some apricots, and it kind of well rounds off with the sweetness of the sugar cane. One thing that's really particular about this rum is that all the sugar cane that we are using to make this rum and the derivatives of the sugarcane are all coming from the Deccan Plateau of India. So in terms of terroir, in terms of the characteristics of the rum, you can really taste the soil, you can really taste the characteristics of that region. So yeah, then in a very, very concise nutshell, that's our spiced rum. What we can do is we can get into the tasting and I guess make it more interactive, where I'd be happy to answer questions about the rum, about India, and anything else that you guys might have for me. So I believe you guys, Indy, does everyone have tasters with them for the rum?
Yeah, everyone should have their miniatures. Everyone should be putting them into their glasses now, hopefully.
Great, perfect. So if we start, it's got a nice golden, slightly darkish caramel color that's coming from the infusion of the spices, the oak, as well as the caramel that goes into this rum. On the nose, the first notes that you get are a lot of mango, apricots. It's got the sweetness of the sugarcane. It's kind of really nice, sweet, aromatic. You can pick out the individual botanicals. And if you have a sip of it, you get a lot of these fruity notes. You get a lot of apricots, spicy honey. You get the ginger that kind of hangs around at the back. You get a lot of mango, which is pretty much my favorite note to talk about when we're talking about this spiced rum. And it kind of all finishes off really smoothly with the sugar cane and the apricot notes and the honey notes that are there with the rum. And that's what makes this well-rounded spiced rum. Various different ways to have this rum. I, of course, like it straight up on the rocks. I guess that's the best way to enjoy this rum. A garnish with ginger goes a long way in kind of elevating that experience. And in terms of cocktails, something as simple as just adding a cola to it really, enhances the flavors. You can it kind of plays on with the notes of the cola, as well as something that we've been experimenting with our pina coladas. I was in London a few months back. We were making mango coladas with it. Comes out fantastic, especially if you add like a little bit of a spicy mango syrup to it. Comes out really well. Something even like a mojito, I guess the rum just kind of shines out in every sort of simple cocktail. Even if we do a daiquiri, a simple 2-ingredient daiquiri, which is rum and lemon, kind of really shows what this rum is. With that, I guess I'd like to open it up to questions, and I'd like to hear from you guys on how you guys like the rum.
Great, Adi. Firstly, thank you so much for that. It's really nice to hear a little bit about Sitara Spice, especially from one of the co-founders. At this very early hour, we appreciate you being with us this time. A little bit of feedback already into the chat. Gary said it was very perfumed on the nose initially. Amanda said it's got a bit of a toffee taste. Jen says it didn't taste how I expected it to smell. That's quite interesting. Andrew says it's sweet caramel at first, and then the fruit, and then the spice. So it's quite a journey of a sip. Another good example of a spiced rum. Stuart said the mango really comes out, very nice. Kate said there's really nice layers to this. There's a flavor that she can't place, reminds her of something, but not sure what. Typical with the tasting, sometimes you can't quite put your finger on it. Everything good spiced rum from the Caribbean, like Chairman's, and then with mangoes and apricots and fruitedness. Gary says a couple drops of bitter walnuts would be very awesome. I've got a quick question for you. You mentioned earlier that there's 7 different spices that go into this. How do we get the spices into the fluid? Like, is it infused? Is it what's done with it? How's that done?
Right. So a 2-step process. The spices are, of course, infused into the rum as it is. They go in whole and then they come out and before the filtration process. And then we also use distillates. So we distill the individual botanicals, and this produces a flavor concentrate that also kind of adds into the rum and intensifies those flavors.
Got you. So part of it is done infused, but part of it's distilled in the same way gin's distilled. So you've gone down kind of both, and then are they all done in one batch together? So are all 7 spices done together, or do you do each one individually and then pick certain blends?
So when we are talking about the infusion process, that's everything, So originally we're gin makers, so we get a lot of that influence of maceration from gin. So a lot of these spices go in as whole and all mixed together for the infusion process. But when we're talking about the distillates that we are creating, they're all distilled individually.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Absolutely. I love that. I think it's a very tasty drop. That's why we work with you. We think it works really well. Any questions, guys? Any recommendations? I know Adi mentioned that delicious mango colada, which is absolutely amazing with this. It really brings out some tasty notes in this. But any other feedback? Any other questions? Any recommendations of what you think you'd like to try this with as well? Feel free to unmute or put it into the chat.
Hey, Indy, when we were just doing the tasting, I always switch over and watch people's reactions while they're tasting. And Catherine, Helen, and Sarah, like, you guys jumped up a bit. Like, come off mute. Tell me what happened when you tasted it. I want to hear what you guys said.
We remember tasting it when we came last year to your tasting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot how nice it was. It's very, very different, very fruity.
Still looking for it in the UK though.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, for me, what makes it really interesting, and everyone knows we used to look after another Cuban spice rum is, you know, this is $24.99. This is the same price as Kraken. It's cheaper than Chairman's
Right.
Reserve, which is a fantastic spice rum. And I really think Addy's onto something here. He's producing a fantastic product, which is value for money versus, you know, if we go Tesco, we go to Sainsbury's and we look at what's available, and then Addy's product's the same price at $24.99. You know, where it's he's on the wave of something, but then he's done this with gin, so he knows what he's doing anyway.
But where can you buy it? We've never been able to find it.
Waitrose.com. Go to your local Waitrose. Where are you guys?
Wokingham and Berkshire. We keep looking.
Wokingham, Berkshire. Yeah, I think Waitrose.com is going to be your best bet round there. Yeah, you might get it at Milk Bar in Reading.
Oh, I know Milk Bar. Okay.
Yeah, Milk Bar Reading might have it as well. So, but yeah, bottles, Waitrose.com is the best place. $24.99. If you're Swift, you're a bit thrifty. It goes on promo down to 22, which to me, a quality like that at £22, there's nothing sippable in the rum market at 22 quid. And for entry level consumers, this is very sippable.
Absolutely.
Very nice. Love it. Very nice.
Yeah.
Still my favourite. So far.
What about Kate, man? Kate, Andrew, tell me what you guys think. Let's give Andy some feedback.
Yeah, I was just putting in the chat actually that there's, as Indy said, there's something in there that I can't put my finger on. It's blending in with dried apricots, and it reminds me something of childhood sweets, and I can't remember what it is. I don't know, but you know when something's just there and that's really nice. I was very surprised by it.
So actually, I think it's the jaggery, the sweetness of the jaggery. If you had that in dessert,
Okay.
that jaggery kind of has those caramelized burnt sugar notes to it, and that kind of hits those nostalgic spots, is what I think.
That's really good because it's sweet but dry as well. It's not too much.
If
Good
Mr.
stuff, thank you.
If Mr. Cooper was on the call, he'd definitely shout out cola cubes. He drinks it and he just says cola cubes straight away. So maybe it's that, Kate. Sorry, Indy, I've kind of bumped in on your thing. Over to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for a bit more interaction, guys, as well. Really helpful, especially for Addy to get some feedback as well. A couple more bits have come in the chat as well. We've had Jen, who said, gone for her usual ginger ale splash. Sounds it gorgeous. Nita said this is lovely. Stuart Edison said start at the top with Waitrose. Yep, it makes sense. Kate, yeah, your Waitrose is rubbish. Hopefully soon there'll be more of them. We can only hope. Stuart said that it's got a slight pear drop smell. I can agree with that as well. I've got very similar kind of notes as well. I can agree with that. Fruit salad, sweet Catherine, Helen and Sarah. Yeah, I can agree with that. Absolutely. Any other feedback, guys? Any other questions for Addy or Richard and Charlotte Garcia? Literally, as Kate said, childhood sweets. Yeah, exactly. Fruit salad seems to be a winner. I don't know if you had
fruit salad, apples, apricots, kind of all blended into it.
It's sweet we've had in the UK. It's a penny sweet. Well, it used to be a penny sweet. Nothing's a penny sweet anymore. It's 2025. It used to be a penny sweet when I was growing up. That's got a very distinct flavour, and I think that's what people are recognizing from this. Mojo's, yes, Andrew, yes, yeah, very good. Gary, over sweet for my palate would look to nutty, earthy element to counter. Yeah, no, I get that. Maybe some kind of a ginger ale or a ginger beer might help temper down some of that for you, Gary. Yeah, really good use of toffee sauce. Yeah, I can believe that, Charlotte. Absolutely. Fantastic. So we know you're from India. You get all your shinkai from the Deccan Plateau and all of your spices. India being the land of spice, I assume they are all sourced in India.
Yes, absolutely. All our spices are Indian spices.
Makes a nice change as well. Sometimes for spice brand. Then the clam hot pepper that was just before you, again doing the same thing of having something that's from there. And then you investigated something which is specifically from India, keeping it completely in the spirit. Lovely, lovely. Any other questions for Addy, guys? Or maybe we can let him go a couple minutes early and get himself off to sleep. He does look like a tired man. No? Okay, no, I think that's great for you, Addy. Thank you so much for joining us from the other side of the world. We really
Yes.
appreciate your time, sharing your knowledge and your love for Sitara. And hopefully we will catch you soon, and hopefully you'll be tasting more Sitara spice across the UK.
Yeah, thank you so much. Before we guys all go, can I get all of you in a quick picture? If you guys could just hold your bottle of Sitara and I could take a nice picture with everyone. Fantastic. Great, guys. Perfect.
And if people want to reach you, is there a particular way that they can get hold of you?
Yes, I'm just gonna drop my Instagram handles. That's my personal Instagram handle. And I will drop the brand Instagram handle as well.
Perfect.
So Instagram might be the best way if you guys want to reach out to me personally. That's my email address that I'm dropping for you guys now.
Lovely. That's great. Thank you so much for your time, Addy.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll see you in the UK soon.
Yes, looking forward to it.
All right. Lovely.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Great meeting you
Please,
guys.
Please grab yourselves some water, freshen out your glasses, maybe give them a quick rinse. We're going from now something that's spiced to something which is not. So it'd be really great to have some fresh glasses if you have them ideally, or rinse out your glasses. That'd be fantastic. We'll give it a quick minute. I know Lewis is here waiting somewhere, ready to rock and roll with a bit of Dropworks. There he is. There he is. Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. Let's give you guys a minute just to rinse out glasses. Maybe grab yourself a cracker or something, or a bit of food. Make sure you've got a bit of fresh palettes. Yeah. Right, looks like everyone, oh no, Jane and John aren't quite back yet. Not really up in it. Okie doke. Well, we've gone from the very late night in India, and we're coming now right back into home, into I believe the heart of Nottingham. We've got the very British, very new, and I believe the biggest European distillery, rum distillery. And we've got one of the founders, Lewis Hayes, with us, who's going to tell us all about the amazing Dropworks. So, Lewis, lovely to see you. It has been far too long. I apologize for that, but at least I can see you virtually, and so does everyone else. Over to you, sir.
You're such a flirt, Indy. I love it. Hello, everybody. Yeah, this is so lovely. There's so many familiar faces as well. It's really nice. I've just been chilling out, listening to all these amazing stories we've had so far, and now I've got to do some talking, which is fantastic as well. I've recognised quite a few faces here, and I'm quite quietly confident that a good few people will have tasted Dropworks before, and I will absolutely guide us through a tasting and tell you a bit about what Dropworks is about, but also I want to give the opportunity to ask any really in-depth questions. Where should we start? In terms of a tasting, are we going to start with Funk Drop or Barrel Drop? I don't mind. Should we? Doesn't matter really, does it? Should we just go Funk?
So I would normally say we go barrel drop first, but having just gone from spice, I feel like funk would really help kind of change and actually take people a bit crazy and then bring it back to earth with barrel. So I'm not mad if you wanted to go funk first. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, well, I think let's recommend we do Funk Drop first, because Funk Drop for me is like breakfast rum, and Barrel Drop's a bit more evening time, a bit more mellow. So, um, Funk Drop will certainly wake you up. By the way, I'm not at all recommending that, because I've just remembered this is being recorded. I've got to be very careful what I say. Yeah, so my name's Lewis. I had a dream of building a rum distillery to try and make quality rum accessible for people, because I love rum. There's so much good rum out there. It's probably why you're all here on this group chat tonight, because you know that. There's amazing rums. But we are, and you are, in an absolute minority of people that actually know that, I think. And I love people. Actually, I'll be really honest. I love people more than I love rum. Rum for me is a fantastic vehicle. It's a wonderful sort of. It's a great way to interact and socialize with people. It's such a versatile spirit. There's rum out there for everyone. And I think so. In terms of my dream, it was all about trying to make quality rum accessible for people. And I'm probably going to repeat that a few times, because if there's one thing you need to know about Dropworks, it's that we know that there are quality rums out there, and we can list off all sorts, and then there are also accessible rums out there, and I don't want to name them because actually I'd probably talk negatively about some of them. And what we want to do is sort of try and bridge that gap. So like, for example, I was just checking now, and I was just hearing that you're saying about £22 for which one was that? Was that Satara? That's mad. That's fantastic value. Yeah, that's incredible. So for me, one of the things I'm trying to do is more of that. Trying to make quality product and get it out there at an affordable price in a way that lots of people can engage with it. Because I think that some of my favorite rums, you probably won't be surprised to hear, they go for a lot of money, and they're quite limited. And then they get bought up and sold at auction, and you've got to know about it. And it's like, oh, did you buy your bottle? Oh, it's run out now. Whereas actually, that's quite elitist, and for a really small group of people. And then often the flavors are quite challenging as well. So although they might be really enjoyable for me, they're quite divisive for a large group of people. And I'll tell you, my father's a Scot. And so I got introduced to whiskey at a relatively young age. And, he had all these different whiskies in the house. And would I go near it? Absolutely not. But then I discovered bourbon. Forgive me if you're Scottish and listening in here. I discovered bourbon. It was really easy to get into. It was sort of sweeter, loads of barrel flavors. And it was sort of like what I would describe as gateway rum, or gateway whiskey. And really got me into enjoying whiskey. And I thought, yeah, actually, maybe my dad will be proud of me one day. I can drink a whiskey. And then eventually I got a bit tired of how blunt an instrument it was. And so I then moved on to lowland whiskies, discovered, the subtleties and the nuances within that. And then I went on to Speyside, and then I went on to the Highlands, and then I went on to the islands. And now I got the full badge. I can, taste any whiskey there is and enjoy them all. But had I gone straight to Islay and gone peaty whiskey, I wouldn't be drinking whiskey. And so for me, there are accessible rums, but I want them to be quality, and they should pull people into understanding that there's quality rums out there for them. Whereas a lot of the quality rums are quite divisive and quite challenging flavors. So that's actually what the dream was. It wasn't, I'd love to own a distillery. I do not want to own a distillery. Trust me, it is bloody hard work. You think this is so much fun, but actually it's hard work, because actually we're on a mission. We've got a mission to try and get people to understand that rum is so much more than the names they've already discovered. And I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the vast majority of the population of, certainly in the UK at the moment, because that's where we're based and that's where we are. And you're constantly engaging with people that have a preconceived idea as to what rum is. And you guys know how sad that is, because it's so much more than that. So that's why it's a lot of hard work. But we did build a relatively large distillery in order to be able to make a substantial amount of rum, meaning we can price it affordably for people. I'm not mad just trying to give it away, but we can make a fair amount of it. So I think we can probably make somewhere in the region of about 2 million bottles of rum in a year if we're working 24/7. And we're a long way off that because we're not at all working 24/7. But that's with our current capacity. We've got, I mean, you can just see behind me there, you've got some stainless steel tanks. We've got we've got 30,000 litres of fermentation capacity behind us. And then we've got 3 stills. So you've got the double retort behind me here, and then actually hiding around the corner here is the pot still. That's actually twice the size of the double retort. And then we've got a hybrid, copper hybrid with an 8-plate column just out of screen, or just outside of the photo. For a moment there, I even thought I was in the distillery, but I'm far too warm to be at the distillery. It's freezing bloody cold there. And that's actually something I'll just throw out as an interesting side point. Making rum in the UK is not what you think it is. It is bloody hot in the summer in that distillery. That's a slate roof with basically like the sun pummeling through those skylights. It is absolutely roasting hot in there in the summer. We've recorded over 40 degrees in there, and the humidity is incredibly high because of the nature of the work. And then in the winter, absolutely zero insulation. One of my fun facts about the distilleries is actually colder in the distillery than it is outside in the winter. It can be like 5 degrees outside and -1 degree inside. It's just mental. And you think about what that does to fermentations and pitching, what temperature you're pitching it, and what that does to the yeast and all of that. It's a fascinating. It's been a fascinating journey so far. Those of you that know Dropworks will know we're about 1.5 years old, so we're not that old, and yet you have some barrel matured, barrel aged liquid to try this evening. I hesitate over that word because to call a 1-year-old mature is quite an interesting way of phrasing it. But anyway, so why don't I, in fact, I don't have a sexy presentation to show you, but what I do have, if I'm allowed to share my screen, is a very sexy picture of some muck. How about that? Can you see that? Is that working?
That is absolutely working. Alex, amazing.
Isn't that sexy? Isn't that beautiful and looks utterly delicious? You can smell the spores from here.
That 1-year-old that you were mentioning comes to mind.
This is kind of where I'm at. I'm not the marketeer. I'm the guy that actually cares about you guys and cares that you actually get the information that's actually relevant. So then you can make your own informed decisions. This is on top of some aged muck that we've been culturing. And then if I just scroll, this is what happens to it over the course of, you know, maybe a couple of weeks. And then it gets there. You know, so this is bacteria, right? That's what you're looking at. And it's like, it's not the sexy stuff. It's not. It's really not. And it stinks to high heaven. And it's one of the things I just wanted to share with you guys, because you know, hopefully you'll understand from me that what you'll get is absolute honesty. We're not trying to sugarcoat it. And that's what leads to Funk Drop tasting the way it does, right? Or one of the major components of it. Yeast is another element. I'll tell you very briefly where our yeast strain comes from. Not because I find that interesting. I actually don't find it interesting. If you're into yeast, I apologize, because that sounds a bit rude. My head distiller, he loves yeast. He could bore you to death with it. But why I'll tell you about our yeast is because it's actually a world first, which I do find interesting. Not for the fact that it's a world first, but actually because of what it is. So there's a national yeast bank in the UK, which is very exciting. Can you imagine working at the National Yeast Bank, where they archive thousands of yeast strains, so that people like my head distiller can get very excited. I was going to say yeast pornography, and then I thought, actually, I can't say that. But that's probably what that is for him. He's a proper scientist. So our yeast was from a sample of sugarcane honey that came from Colombia. When we first started fermenting and distilling, we imported some sugarcane honey from Colombia, and as it came over, it was actually fizzing in the sample. We know what's going on here. It's already fermenting, and it shouldn't be, but it is. And so we grew up that yeast rather than trying to make alcohol. We actually grew the yeast up, and then we fermented it perfectly legally, and then we tasted it perfectly legally, and we really enjoyed it. So we then decided, you know what, actually, there's a nice little story here, but it works. The flavors really work. So we sent it off to this National Yeast Bank, and they killed it. So, cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Can we have it back? Alive, please. And then eventually what happened is we got some more, sent it to them again. On the 4th try, they managed to not kill it for us. And the reason they were killing it was because they were trying to separate out the yeast, because there was more than one yeast in there. There were 3 yeasts. And it's why we refer to it as our wild Trinity yeast. And the 3 yeasts, I can see Jazz and Nat having some fun here. Are people taking the mick out of me? Am I okay? Am I saying things I shouldn't be saying? I'll read the chat later.
Engaging, and I think people are absolutely loving what you're doing right now. All I'm seeing is people absolutely laughing and enjoying it. So please carry on. Don't have any other issues. I think people are really enjoying it. And we're just going to have to hit the yeast bank at some stage as well.
Okay, I just had a moment of panic where I thought, hold on, Jazz and Nat know that someone here in this group, it works from HMRC or something like that.
No. Lewis, bro, you're just a fantastic presenter, and you got me like just giggling. You're just fantastic, bro. Go with the yeast feast. I love it.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll just keep telling you more, which is basically that there were 3 yeasts living in this culture that we had loved and enjoyed, and they tried to separate them out because if you know more than just a little bit about yeast, it dominates other yeast strains. So there'll be a dominant strain, and so basically you only end up with 1 yeast strain really in 1 sample. So they were very confused as to why there were 3. They wanted to separate them out and see what they were, and they couldn't. They are symbiotic. And that's what's a world first about it. So they actually they sort of need each other, which is very lovely. It's like me and my team. We're very needy for each other, and they've left me tonight to talk nonsense, absolute nonsense, which is what I'm doing so far. So anyway, our wild yeast strain. It came from this sugarcane honey from Colombia. It's 3 yeasts living together, and it produced what I thought was excellent flavors. And we fermented it, we distilled it, and it produced an okay rum. It was okay. And then we decided, actually, hold on, why don't we experiment with time and length of time and some bacteria and vinegars and stuff like that? And so that's where Funk Drop came from. If you've tasted Funk Drop in an old branded bottle, this is slightly garish. It's kind of like fake watermelon colors or something like that. But if you tasted the one from the bottle that was even more garish before, like bright pink and fluorescent bubbles and all of that, it was actually a different liquid. So this is an entirely different product. That first product was made with sugarcane honey, and it was a short fermentation. This is made with molasses, and it's a month-long fermentation. The first week fermenting just with our yeast, and then after that we pitch in some of that bacteria muck that we've been culturing, and then we just leave it. And I didn't really understand or even probably believe in secondary fermentation, but when you actually see it, to see it is to believe it, is what I'm trying to say. The second fermentation is something that's not really communicated or talked much about. Again, you guys are like the rum elite, so you probably already know. But seeing it go through that second fermentation and then putting it through our double retort, which is behind me here, the result that came out was just utterly different. Utterly different. The flavors were completely unique. And when it's coming off the still, one of the beautiful things one of the beautiful privileges of working in the distillery is that you smell and taste it coming off the still. So with batch distillation, where you have a batch of liquid in a pot, you're separating out alcohols because they all have their different volatilities, right? So different aromas are coming off the still at different times of the day. And so at the start of the day, honestly, I'll sort of walk you through what happens when we're distilling Funk Drop. It starts off as like this foam banana note that then goes into cooked banana, that then goes into banana bread, that then goes into nuts, and then goes into coconut, and then it goes into something entirely different altogether. And it starts going, oh, we've got watermelon and like some cucumbery flavors. And then So when it all comes together, because it's all just pouring into our receiving tank together, so it's sort of naturally blending. It's weird to think of a single distillation run as a blend, but that's kind of what I'm trying to describe to you. It's one single pass, but it all ends. But all those different alcohols and different esters and different aromas coming off, we could separate all of those out, and you'd end up with so many different taste profiles of rum. It all sort of just gets blended all together in the receiving tank, and that's what you guys have in front of you now. It comes off the still at an average, well, it starts coming off at about 82 and we cut it at about 76%. That's quite a narrow window, and we end up with about 150 to 180 litres at that strength, and that's a whole distillation and a month-long fermentation. So we can't make a huge amount of Funk Drop. It's actually something it's a bit of a labor of love and something that I really enjoy. And it's not supposed to be a big Jamaican. It's not supposed to be our attempt at doing a big Jamaican rum. It is what it is. I think the bacteria in our distillery are utterly unique, and the yeast strain has never been recorded as unique. So these flavor profiles are utterly different. And that's one of the things I love about Funk Drop. The fact that it's all distilled on this copper retort slowly, and we end up with a genuinely small batch. That's why I start using the very pretentious marketing words like craft and small batch and this, that, the other. I do hate those words, by the way. I just kind of have ended up using them, and I'll have a word with myself before I go to bed about living with myself for succumbing to craft words and stuff like that. But
just very not to break the flow, because the flow is absolutely amazing. While some people are slowly starting to sample the Funk Drop, there are some people abroad who aren't rum or spirit drinkers in general. Do you want to give people just a little bit of, if you're not used to drinking at a kind of high proof, high 60.3? 63%, you might need a little bit of coaching around it. So maybe you want to go through a touch of that as well.
yeah, that's a really good point, Indy. I mean, I accidentally got married because of Gosling's 151. Yeah, you want to be really careful with overproof rums. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah, so 60. It's kind of true, by the way. So anyway, 63% rum is watered down for your ease of drinking, because as I said, it sort of comes off the still a little bit higher than that. But 63% rum is still quite high. One thing I'm proud of with this rum is that it has an oiliness, it has a viscosity, because it's all copper and it's slowly distilled. And something else about it is, if you look at 1,000 litres of it all together, it's got a green hue to it, which is one of my favorite things about rum distilled on copper, you probably won't genuinely, you probably won't pick up on it in that small sample. You'll probably just be humoring me if you say, oh yes, I can see that, I can see that. It looks, to the eye, it probably looks fairly colorless. But in 1,000 liters in a big IBC, when we collect, you know, over the course of however many distillations, it's got this green hue, and that's because of all the copper. It's got a lot of copper in it. But nevertheless, if you're drinking 63% rum, my suggestion, just keep it towards the front of the palate. I think, yes, you have to swallow it, but by the time it mixes with a bit of saliva and it's sort of, your mouth is becoming a bit more accustomed to it, I think it actually makes it all a little bit easier. But yeah, small amount, start at the front of the mouth and keep it as frontal as you can. And that's kind of my best trick with 63%. But again, don't be afraid of watering it down. If I'm testing rum, you're going to change the mouthfeel completely. But if I'm testing for aromas, one of my favorite things to do is water it down to 20%. It's not about the mouthfeel at that point. You want to understand the flavors, the aroma and the aromas. Water it right down, and that way, you know, you get rid of all that challenging. Oh, it's alcohol, it's hot, and then you can actually just go, oh, I can actually taste this, and that's when I really learned how bad Hendrick's gin really was. But anyway, enough of that. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. So yeah, any questions or thoughts on Funk Drop? Or I will.
Guys, feel free to unmute and give Lewis a little bit of feedback. Just from me, I'm a big fan of the Funk Drop in general. My question would be, obviously, you and I would drink this neat happily. How would a normal human who's not a bit crazy drink something like the Funk Drop?
Yeah, really good question. I love it with grapefruit soda. There's so many brands do a grapefruit soda now, or a grapefruit tonic. Drink it like a long serve over ice, pink grapefruit soda, and it's absolutely delicious. But if you've got the desire to do something a little bit more fancy, then I would play around with some watermelon. I think there is something in the flavor profile here. And aloe vera. If you can just go and get a bottle of aloe vera water. I'm sounding incredibly pretentious now, actually. I can't apologize enough for that.
Watermelon, aloe vera. Okay,
yeah, but honestly, aloe vera water with some Funk Drop. It works really well with peaty whiskey as well, by the way. But that's another story. Yeah, so Funk Drop, how do I drink it? Daiquiri, of course, nucleoatomic daiquiri. Add in 10 mils of it to your pina colada or whatever it is, because it's got quite a lot going on. So you don't, although it's big and bold, you don't need the same volume as if it was something else. So yeah, even just a single measure and whatever it is. That's a fun way of doing it, I think. I love Gary said slight bitumen back note. I actually agree. I take that. Yeah, that's fair. I love a bit of bitumen. Yeah.
I really thought you were going to take a big from the bottle there. I'm not going to lie.
I am. I think one thing I would say. I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but it's actually quite subtle on the nose, and then when you go in on them, you kind of go, "Oh no, are there any esters in here? Like, is this really like funky?" And then you kind of go in there and you go, "Oh, actually, okay, there is quite a lot going on." Delicious.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm sure there's a few people who've been polite who are just going, "This is way too intense." I've seen a couple of faces drinking it, but actually, I think in general, the faces when we look at people when they're having their sips, is actually been a lot better than I thought it would be. If you're drinking something like Uncle Ray, like this, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as a previous one.
No, I mean, I'm obviously biased with that, but like, yeah, I think there's a big difference between something that's come off in a large volume, and no disrespect to Uncle Ray. We all respect our old Uncle Ray there, but yeah, side by side comparisons kind of a good fun for me because I don't have to say anything. If you are thinking this might not be for you, my suggestion would be buy a whole bottle, drink that, and then maybe buy another bottle, share it with some friends, and just keep buying it and just keep trying it, and then maybe it might eventually be for you.
On that note, how much is it and where can we get it?
Well, it's obviously it's got more duty, so it has to be more expensive. It's just unavoidable. We love paying taxes, so this is your opportunity to help us contribute to paying lots and lots of tax. Another reason for buying Funk Drop Funk Drop rum. I just seen this on the Whiskey Exchange for 36 quid. That's pretty decent, isn't it, for something that is craft and small batch and copper and made by me and my gang. So actually, I do think that's quite a good price. Actually, I think we thought it was going to be in the 40s, but it shows you what we know about pricing.
Mad scientist that you are, yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's not with yeast, as Kieran says, yeah.
If exactly, but again, you know, a lot of what we're trying to do is to talk to bars and restaurants and hotels, and we're just trying to get them to have quality behind the bar instead of naffness and lots of additives. But there's no additives here, and that's kind of, it's easy to kind of dismiss, because if you make a load of crap, you've got to add the additives, and that's what a lot of people's expectations are. Although not expectations, but that's what a lot of people are ingesting. And so their expectations of tasting another rum is, without additives, is that it should be on a par with a sweetness and a syrupiness and all this. And it's like, yeah, but we did this without adding all of that stuff. So there's still a doctor's warning on the back. I cannot say this is healthy for you, but there's no additives at all in this. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Not to rush you along, so we move to the barrel drop. We've got about 10 minutes, but here in your glorious still, so we can still go on.
Great. Yeah. So barrel drop is a bit naughty. It's a little bit rude of us because we have no right to be releasing a barrel. Let's call it barrel aged. We'd have no right to be releasing a barrel aged product. We've only been going a year and a half. It's rude. But we did because, for me, I want people to understand that rum is not just about pirates, plantations, and palm trees. It's so much more than that. There's rich history to rum and the diverse cultures of the people that make rum. For me, I can't talk to that. I can talk about it, but I can't own that. It's not my story. It's not my narrative. Rum for me, and every spirit, is both how it was made that way, the science, and then why was it made that way? Typically the history. So rather than talking about the history, we talk about the science. So we came up with 5 products as our core range that we're always going to have. We've got a product that talks about the raw material. That's our dark drop rum. We've got a product that talks about fermentation, and you just saw our sexy bacteria. With Funk Drop, that's about fermentation, the flavors developed through the yeast working with the bacteria to create the esters. We then have a product that celebrates batch distillation on our column still. It's predominantly a column still distillate that is extremely soft, but still got loads of character. And it's trying to highlight to people about quality distillation, the difference between continuous and discontinuous or batch distillation. And we'd love people to understand a bit more about that, because there are columns and then there are columns. And so that's what Clear Drop is all about. So we've got one for raw material, fermentation, and distillation. So we thought, actually, we need one for maturation. I want people to understand that, you can, and/or. It's not, it has to be matured. We've already had someone talking about a 2-year-old because, was it because of Venezuelan rules that I think they said it has to be two years old? Is that what Antonio said? I totally respect that. But we don't have to age rum to call it rum in the UK. But we're laying down loads and loads of barrels, and I don't want to go off on a big thing about all the different casks we've got. But we've had some fairly substantial pallets and fairly awarded and well recognized individuals taste in our barrel store, and they have said to me almost across the board, and even if they've not been to the barrel store, I've taken them samples, and I'm not going to name drop, but these are names that you guys would know, and they have said across the board, how the hell are you doing that? Like, the surprise on their faces, like, we have no right to be doing this, to be pulling these flavors out of casks at such a young age. We've just entered our clear drop, spice drop, and barrel drop into the Rum Masters. And as this video, this is going to be recorded, but the video will not be released until I'm sure for months from now. So the fact that something's under trade embargo means I couldn't possibly tell you we've just won 3 golds with 3 products. And the gold medal that this has just won, the barrel drop's just won, is up against rums that are 7 years old. The thing I'm most proud of with this one is taste it next to Dawley's 5. Taste it next to Eldorado 5. Taste it next to Havana 7. Appleton Signature. I'm not saying it's better, but I'm saying this one confidently stands up. And now I can improve this product. It will evolve, it will improve, but I'm pretty darn proud of what we've done in the space of our first year. This is actually a 10-month-old liquid. It's non-age statement, but I can tell you it's 10 months old. And it's a blend of our pot still, our column still, and our double retort. It's got 10% of the casks are virgin American oak. So there is some virgin oak in there, but that may be dropped in the future because it's not an essential part of this. The 90% is split down the middle between Portuguese STRs, Portuguese oak STRs, and American oak STRs. And the STRs are a wonderful, I'm not going to bore you with STRs, probably most of you know them already, but championed by the whiskey producers, the English whiskey distillers, that basically didn't want to wait 10, 12 years for their first release. They'd have all been bust. So STRs, fantastic opportunity to not have to go with virgin oak, but barrels that have already had wine in them. And there's a difference between wood soluble sugars and alcohol soluble compounds as well. So there will be plenty of water soluble extractives that have already been removed from those casks. It's not like so it really isn't a new barrel, even though they look brand new and they shave them out, they rechar them, toast them. By the way, if people haven't come across this book, this is absolute gold dust. I'll actually send the link to this on here. This is for you guys. This is essential reading. Like, it is absolutely brilliant. Just a quick raise of hands, has anyone read this before? Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it, Indy? Yeah, it's absolutely magic. It's like it's proper sort of industry level, but in a really digestible way. Anyway, American oak brings lots of vanilla, of course. Portuguese oak brings lots of dried fruit for us. And I just thought, hold on, vanilla ice cream with rum and raisin. We'll bring the rum. American oak brings the vanilla ice cream. Portuguese oak brings the raisins. And it doesn't, that was the theory. That's why we did it. Barrel drop does not taste like rum and raisin ice cream. But it still works as a concept because you've got the vanilla notes and the dried fruit notes and the rum notes. And so for the same reason the rum and raisin kind of just works, that's why I think we've got something with barrel drop. And those Portuguese oak STRs, again, a world first. I don't know why it's a world first. I think they're exceptional casks. I think other people should be using them. So there's lots going on at Dropworks. I think in the future, we look out for single cask releases. We've got a few exceptional casks that are already ready to go. But yeah, for now, it's all about this core range and trying to get people to understand that quality rum can be accessible. And that doesn't just mean price, it means flavors and availability. So we are in plenty of bars and restaurants up and down the UK already. We're already in over a third. We're somewhere between a third and half of the top 50 bars in the UK, and we haven't had to pay any of them to be into those bars. They just get it. They're tasting it. They're going, okay, I can see British. It's sustainable. It's got that local credentials. It's tasty. It's affordable. And so for us, that's how we're trying to get out there, talking to the industry and trying to educate people about, or trying to help inform people about quality rum. I've talked a lot, and it's probably time up. But are there any questions?
It is pretty much time up. One of my questions was for the barrel drop itself. What does that retail at, and where can we get that if we wanted to buy a bottle of it?
That's on the Whiskey Exchange as well for 32 quid. But if you want to pay 35 quid, you can go on my website. So I highly recommend not doing that. So yeah, Whiskey Exchange. We only launched it just before Christmas, but yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know, Indy.
That's no problem at all. I am going to have to cut you here, Lewis. I apologise.
All right, no, I apologise. Chatting on.
Catherine Hematera said you're very passionate about rum. There's been some great feedback in the chat. If you get a couple of minutes, if you're going to hang about, please drop into the chat, have a quick little look. If you have a couple of minutes as well, please drop into the chat how people can get hold of you, how people can get hold of Dropworks as well. That would be very useful. Obviously, it'd be great to see more of what Dropworks are doing. I think what we're doing is amazing too. Very, very different. Glad to hear they're both core as well, and they're going to be really kind of pushing, spreading the word about bringing good quality but affordable at the same time to the UK market, which I think is two amazing things, which really just elevates the whole category, which is absolutely perfect.
Thanks, Indy. Can I just add one last thing that I didn't actually specifically say, which is that barrel drop, just like funk drop, is additive free. All that color is from the casks. All the sweetness is all natural. There's nothing added. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there as well. I'll hang around and answer some questions, but yeah, sure.
Thank you so
Thanks, guys.
much.
Thanks, everyone.
We appreciate it. Guys, if you could please give us a quick couple of minutes to go rinse out your glasses, maybe grab a fresh glass. We're going to go now into something very, very different. I've got this stuff. I've got Anthony. Is he here? He is here. Anthony, give me a couple of minutes. Let's get everyone some fresh glasses. Let's get everyone to freshen out their palates, and then we're going to move straight across to you. Thank you again so much, Lewis. While we have a couple of people waiting, right. So we're going now from Dropworks. We're staying in the UK, and we're going from a distillery owner to someone who used to spend a lot of time behind the bar. He spent a lot of time talking directly to people like us. He's seen what's actually important, what people are missing, and what he thinks is really fantastic and needed in the market. So Anthony here created From, which is a very, very different product, something that I found last year at an event. I was very, very excited about, and I'm really actually looking forward to hearing more about it from Anthony to kind of tell us something very, very different from what's been on the board today. So I think everyone is almost back. We've got one group here which aren't quite back. I think there's a couple, give us 30 seconds. Yeah, they seem to be coming back. Probably best they have fresh glasses for you.
I've got mine, so.
You've got yours, fantastic. Glad to hear it. Well, I'm looking forward to this. I'm not going to lie. It has been a while since I've tried some of this, so I've got my sample ready to go as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Indy.
Let's get everyone going. Of course you can. And over to you. Yeah, let's do it. Over to you, sir.
Lovely. Hello, everyone. My name's Anthony Peart. I'm affectionately known as Fro in the industry. So if you want to call me Fro on the chat, that's fine. I just wanted to kind of just say thank you to Indian Jazz for sorting this out. I think this is an amazing platform. I think having sort of brands on here that are slightly bigger, and then you've got like really small brands like myself to be on here and speak to like directly to consumers. I think it's great. So thank you once again. To talk to you about Frum, it is like a passion project of mine. It's something that sort of, you know, the whole concept, you could argue that it kind of came into my mind when I was about 5 years old, which I'll go more into that in a sec. So a little bit about me. I have been bartending for the past 23, 24 years and running bars for about 20. So it kind of got to a point where I really wanted to create something for myself. And also I wanted to create something that I like and that I could share with everyone else. And it was very clear to me, like, I do like most things, but I drink Guinness and I drink rum. So I was approached by a distillery to create a rum. They had seen that, you know, from online in the past, I'd entered a few rum competitions and a Drambuie competition, and they really wanted to help me sort of express my flavor combination that I've had in my head. And it's actually, I'll sort of show you the bottle because it's written on there, but it's a pineapple and smoky Scotch bonnet rum. Now, how was that in my head at 5 years old? So I used to spend a lot of time in the Caribbean, specifically Spanish Town in Jamaica on my granddad's farm. I spent quite a few summers. My dad was in the army and my mum was a nurse. So I was very lucky that I got to go abroad, been to America, but Jamaica was where I found my love of big flavor and food. And being a farm, I watched my granddad dispatch a pig at 5 years old, and we enjoyed jerk pork, pineapples, and Scotch bonnets on the barbecue. And from tasting that really ignited something within me. You know, everyone who knows me knows that I love my food. I can't go 2 hours without eating something, which is a nightmare when I'm behind the bar. But it was like having that experience at 5 years old. Who could have known that it would inform such an important career decision later on in life? The flavor profile of pineapple upside down cake, muscovado, smoky fruit never left me. I've worked with Tom Kerridge at the Hand and Flowers for 15 years, and one of my favorite jobs was to light the fire. There's something, you know what, it reminds me of cavemen getting together and enjoying food. It's about, you know, warmth, hospitality, having a good time, being with people. And this is what Frum for me is about, and especially this pineapple and smoky Scotch bonnet. It's about people getting together and having a good time. So we decided, the distillery that I worked with, we decided that we wanted to bring in a rum from the Caribbean. And we went with a rum from the Dominican Republic, and it's a rum that is really light-bodied, and it allows for manipulation, for want of a better word. There's a syrup that I always used to create, right? I've got a sample of it here. So this is basically muscovado, pineapples, so chopped pineapples. And what I do is I let the muscovado sit with the pineapple, and over a period of a few hours, the muscovado will bring all of the juice naturally out of the pineapple. I then get some Scotch bonnet chilies and roast them on a fire. So, you know, I've got a barbecue in the garden that I roast them on. And then I add that Scotch bonnet to the syrup, and it will just slowly start to just impart its flavor and its spice. Now, this is the part where I taste test, because I can cope with a lot of Scotch bonnet chili, right? But many people can't really. If you're gonna have a little bit of a session on this rum, you don't want it to blow your head off. So what I do is, after about 6 minutes, which I found it seems to be the perfect time, I strain those Scotch bonnets away, get rid of all of the pineapple that is now spent, and I go and filter that syrup. So it has to go through a micron bag as well for filtering. I take the syrup to the distillery, and we start blending it into the rum. Now, the rum itself has been rectified. So basically, we have stripped any sort of flavor away from that rum, and we've introduced a few botanicals. Now, most people know, and then we've thrown in a couple of oddballs in there as well. So let's start off with what you can smell straight away, which is the pink peppercorn. So the pink peppercorn, you can kind of say that kind of helps with pineapple. So in kitchen, chefs are using pineapple and pink peppercorn as they're friends. They work really well together in food, and in desserts they're amazing. You've got some Lapsang Souchong in there, so that's a Japanese green tea which helps bring some tannin. It helps with the smoky flavor, and the tannin brings a dryness. So one of the things that I didn't want to do is create a rum that isn't necessarily spiced. It's got spiced flavors in there. I didn't want to add a ton of sugar. And the Lapsang Souchong and the tannic structure of that tea helps keep it nice and dry. You've got some cacao and cinnamon, and they are typically found in a lot of flavored rums. They typically work along with things like vanilla, caramel. You've also got some cinnamon, and then with the syrup, what I find is each botanical or spice will work really nicely with something that is in the syrup. So pink peppercorn buddies with the pineapple. The muscovado works really well. It just gives all of those aromats a really big warm hug. And the Scotch bonnet pepper works really well with cacao. And what I find is, on the nose, in the glass, you've got such a fabulous pineapple upside down. And it's one of those things, pineapple upside down cakes are something that really takes me back to my childhood and being with my grandparents on that farm in Jamaica. I've seen on the chat, someone's asked me, where do I work? So I have worked with Tom Kerridge at the Hand and Flowers in Marlow, and I have actually left. I left last Saturday actually, and I'm sort of enjoying a bit more time with the rum brand itself. I've been going for 2 years, and as everyone can appreciate, I'm a one-man band pretty much. So when it comes to I try and get out and do as many sort of fairs or festivals as I can. That's where I met Jazz at the Spirit of Christmas. Gave me a few pointers, which was great. So thank you for that. One thing I will say, what I'm extremely proud of is that From actually won gold at the IWSC, which I was not expecting at all. I was expecting a bronze, and if not a bronze, a pat on the back. So to actually have my rum, which is a passion project, validated by industry peers, is absolutely amazing. I hope I haven't sort of rambled on and sort of, you know, spoken any nonsense. But with From, obviously I've got into a few bars. It's listed on the Master of Malt. And being a bartender myself, I've created a few cocktails with it. One of the best ones that you can create is a daiquiri with a bit of a little bit of a saline solution or a bit of salt. Works really well. Really good twist on a Mai Tai, which is a cocktail I launched with on National Mai Tai Day 2 years ago. So that is, you know, a Mai Tai with a little bit of pineapple juice added, but you still got the orgeat, the fresh lime juice, a ton of From. Actually worked with a local gelato company, and they created a From and raisin that works really well. Getting in some raisins into a batch of From for Christmas puddings, Christmas cakes. But for me, this is best enjoyed outside, cooking on a barbecue, preferably some meat, making a syrup, slathering that all over some pork ribs, and jobs are good 'un. Jobs are good 'un.
Can I come to that barbecue?
Oh yeah, I'll send you an invite, Indy.
Yeah, I think amazing. I love your passion. I love the fact that he's got a one-man band. You've been there for a couple of years, and you created something that is very nostalgic to you. It's your history. It brings you back to something in your childhood. I absolutely love that. I just wanted to give you a couple of bits of information that people are giving you in the chat to give you a bit of feedback. People are saying that they're loving finding all these spicy rums. We've got a couple before you on the floor, and this one smells unreal as well. People are saying they love the peppery nose. It's like pineapple rum cake. Yeah, and that was asking where you work, because she's saying if you wanted to try your cocktails, because if your rum tastes like this, your cocktails are going to be outstanding. So that's why the question of where you work. But then you mentioned a couple of cocktails, so that helps with that too. Oh my God, this is lovely. It tastes exactly like it smells, heavenly. People, I love this rum. I use it in my rum cake. We have people questioning the ABV actually, and that's something that I think as well. It's 42%, right?
It's 42% ABV, so it's for a standard rum. I think, you know, it is quite punchy, but the presence of that alcohol is so important to just like to hold that flavor. And you know what, I can't really. Can I do 40%? Probably, but I don't think I'd be happy with it. I'd rather pay that extra bit of duty and give people what, you know, what I want them to have, which is a genuine flavor bomb. And you know what, I find that it drinks. I know this is about rum, but it drinks like a whiskey. I think it has complexity in the glass, and it ages in the glass, it develops. It becomes more perfumed as well, a little bit sort of sweeter on the nose.
That's one thing that I found when I first tried US Spirit at Christmas. I walked past, I was very, very dubious. I thought, oh, it's going to be incredibly sweet, it's going to be really heavy pineapple, and then it's going to be incredibly spicy. It's going to burn out the back of my palate. And actually, this just doesn't do that. It's really elegant with the pineapple. It's not overly pineapple. It brings in the spice, but that spice isn't burning like you're having a spicy margarita. It's not burning out your palate. The two balance really, really well, and it was something that I've had quite a few pineapple products, and this is really, really tasty. I agree. Gary saying it's like a liquid pineapple cake. People are loving the smell. The nose and palate are very different in a good way. Some
Yeah,
people, as you said, are going straight into barbecue. People are getting hungry.
yeah,
Oh, a reduced down, used gammon glaze.
yes.
Ah, okay. So people are getting it. People are getting it. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
and that's what it's about. You know, I've worked alongside chefs for a very long time, and it really does help to, you know, this isn't about chefs. It's not about, you know, getting in your kitchen and cooking. It's just about having a good time. You know, eating and drinking is something that everyone has in common, whether you're vegetarian or a meat eater or whatever. It's the one thing that, well, two things that we all have in common. Um, we we eat for pleasure as well as drinking for pleasure. So whatever you put in your mouth's going to be good, right?
Exactly that. Guys, have any questions for Fro? Any feedback else that you've got? Feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free to unmute. Have some conversation, please do. The nose transitions from Capricorn to clone over time. Gary's enjoying it. Gary's enjoying it. Yeah. Anyone mixed it at the moment at home? I know Jen normally chucks in some ginger ale. Has anyone else put it with something else while they're sat there at home if they're not drinking it neat?
So, I mean, I can really recommend sort of like a really dry ginger ale, but a fiery ginger beer is the best. There's nothing wrong with a bit of old Jamaica in this.
Hey, Anthony, I just wanted to say a big thank you, brother. I really appreciate you coming on and showcasing your brand.
Thank
The quality of what you produce that we taste beforehand is why we brought you on here. And I know there's a lot of brand bashing in the market based around people who are adding flavors and colorings. And all rum has a place in the market. So we're here to big and back up the entire category. So thank you so much for coming. I think your product's delicious.
Thank
You've
you.
absolutely got me on the food thing. So we have to go hang out. And
We
whenever
do,
you
absolutely.
are doing something, all of these guys, they're killers for London Cocktail Week. So wherever you go to next, guys, gang, this is another person part of the Skylark family. If you're in London, go check out wherever he's working. Yeah, you know his rum cocktails are going to be good.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. If anyone does have any sort of questions, feel free to fire away. I'll be on and I'll answer some questions in the group chat as well.
Thank you, appreciate it. Catherine and Sarah, one of the three have asked where they can find. I know you said Master of Malt earlier. Anywhere else? What's the kind of retail price for it as well?
So retail is £45. It's quite a punchy price, but you know, I'm very hands-on with it. It takes up a lot of my time, and as you all know, it does taste great. It's worth every penny. Master of Malt will be doing a promotion for Father's Day, so keep your eyes peeled for that. You can buy it direct from my website, which I will put a link to that in the chat. You can get it from quite a few sort of online e-commerce sites, so things like My Drinks Club, Cocktail Life, and you can get it from BWH, soon to be with Amethyst as well, in their shops dotted around London. So yeah, slowly building.
That's it, one-man band. These things take time. You've only been going for just about 2 years, so that is fantastic. Great to hear it's actually ending up in physical shops as well. And we've also had 2 different people already saying it does work well with ginger beer. So you were not wrong. Any other questions, guys? Anthony's put in his the website as well for how you can reach him in the chat for any kind of information around from as well. That'll be on too. Anything else, guys? Otherwise, I think we can let Anthony go enjoy his evening. Hang around as well if you'd like, by all means. Otherwise, if you have other plans, it's Friday evening after straight onto the chicken and the barbecue. Yes, I'm with you, Kieran. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Fantastic.
And a big thank you to Jen for the order.
Oh, look at that! Evaded straight into the order. Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, thank you so much. Any final words from you? Otherwise, we can roll on.
I just want to say once again, thank you to Indian Jazz and Skylark. And I hope to see some of you soon, hopefully at Pub in the Park. So I'll be at Marlow and St. Albans and Carfest in August. It'll be great to see you there.
Fantastic. Thanks, I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see more from across the UK soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Great, guys. That's another one. If you want to take a minute or two, rinse out some glasses. We are staying in the UK. I can see James here already, ready to rock and roll. We're going to give him a quick minute or two. Let guys freshen up their glasses. And we're going to go on. Staying in the UK, we're now a UK distillery, moving a little bit further south from Nottingham. But yeah, we'll let you guys quickly refresh out while we give it a minute. But we're moving on. Down to Northamptonshire, right, James?
Oh,
You're in Northampton, right?
we're Northamptonshire, yeah.
Northamptonshire, yes.
Not Nottinghamshire.
No, not Nottinghamshire. Nottinghamshire was Dropworks, and now we're moving a little bit further south.
Yeah, we're a little bit further south, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit further south. So we've got the amazing Revival Rum. I'm so pleased, guys, to have James here with us from Revival Rum, who's going to take you through two delicious products, very British made again, keeping a little bit of British theme in this middle section of our tasting. He's got two very delicious products. Please grab your two samples, grab yourself a little bit of water, some sample cups, and we are going to chop you across to James, who is going to tell you a little bit about the delicious Revival Rum. James, it's been lovely to see you. It's been a few months since I've last seen you. Really happy to at least catch you online. And over to you, sir.
Okay. So we started hatching this project back in 20 when we were all locked down and we had nothing to do. So we cleaned. Yes, that's it. We started with this with this one, our first release that ended up actually winning a double gold in San Francisco, which we were very pleased about. But we had to. The bulk of our rum is going into casks, and this particular one we wanted it to be pleasant enough to drink straight away. So we made a nice, light, flavoursome rum with not too many congeners, because we're using double retort still, which adds quite a lot of body to the rum. So we've managed to get it nice and light and tasty. The other one, this sort of spiced or doctored one, the honey and anise, we've used the same base rum, but what we've done is we've infused it with honey from Northamptonshire, local honey, and we put a 30-pound pail into each 100 litres of rum, and we let that mix that up. And then we have to obviously fine it to get the proteins that coagulate out of it. It's a pretty involved one to make the honey and anise, but you'll see it's a very, very tasty rum. And to be honest, I would love people to chip in and tell me what on earth I can mix it with, because I can't really think of it. I mean, Fever Tree are having a look, but I just think it's lovely on its own and I can't think what to put in it. So anyway, going back to the base rum, to get the flavour in that base rum, we're lucky. We've got a very small distillery. It's nothing like Dropworks. They're on a much bigger scale. But what we have is a big, big building. And so we've got tons and tons of room for fermenters. So we're able to have 30 or 40 fermenters and do really, really long fermentations, which I think makes a difference to the rum. It gives it a lot more body And I hope you all agree with that. You know, well, you'll see it. It's only an unaged spirit. But it's got more than just a plain white rum, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think get a bit of a smell, a bit of a taste. Guys, if you haven't already, please pour the first revival rum with the black label. And this one here, pour this one into your glasses. This is the one that James is going to be talking about, or has been talking about, the first one. In case you haven't already had a bit of a sample. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you, James. It's much more than your typical mainstream clear white rums. Absolutely.
It's pleasant. It's a pleasant, even on its own, it's pleasant. As obviously as a mixer, as a white rum, as a mixer, it's great. But you've got to have a good rum to start with everything, haven't you?
Absolutely. I think your base product needs to be fantastic. I'm a big believer that if I wouldn't drink something neat, I wouldn't mix it. And the same with if I had base rum isn't tasty, I wouldn't want to age it, because you're not going to be able to age out something that's really bad if it's something amazing. I think what you should be putting in should be really good to start with. And I think, you do that very well. Talk to me about the ABV about this your age.
Well,
we go with 40. Is it 43?
We decided on 43. Well, actually, we accidentally came upon 43 because I was thinking about taking it down to 30, to 40, and I hadn't got enough room in the vessel. So we left the first batch at 43, and it actually turned out really well. It probably would have stood a little bit more, to be honest, but 43 is acceptable to most people.
Yeah, I agree. I think at 43 gives you a little bit more for the rum drinkers, from the rum community, which is, I guess, what you're targeting in a minute. How long have you been going for?
We started planning it in 20, and then we actually got the license all in place by 22. So that's it. We had the still there, the cleaned out buildings, all the fermenters, and then it's a bit back to front the way they license you. You have to have a whole distillery built, and then they decide whether you're going to get your license in or not. But anyway, there we were, all ready, and we got the go ahead, and so then we started. We didn't actually sell or make anything marketable from the very first year, because we were just learning to get the fermentations right, mixes, get the ABVs, get the SGs and all that sort of thing. And when we got that right, I felt we were ready the second year's distillation to go into actually something that we could sell straight away, rather than making gin.
We appreciate that. Thank you for not making another gin. We definitely appreciate that. There's enough of those out there at the moment. A couple of questions have come in from the chat. Gary's asking, where in Northamptonshire are you? I think you must be based around that area.
We're right on the edge. We're nearly Leicestershire. We're 2 miles from Leicestershire, Market Harborough. So yeah, we're right in the middle of the country. Not a bad drive on any of the motorways coming down south.
Fantastic. And do you do distillery visits, or anyone able to come and see you guys and see the amazing work that you do?
Most certainly we do, and I quite enjoy. We're not full on, a pucker outfit for doing distillery tours, but I love it when people come, and we always advise them to have a driver, because if you start tasting the barrels when it's in there at 63.5, it doesn't take very long before you're going to need a driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Just bring someone who's teetotal, for them to be a driver. I think that might work out well.
Yeah.
Very cool. So Gary's also saying, if you can't find a Fever-Tree mixer that works, you haven't tried them all. Have you tried them all, or have you passed it across the Fever-Tree and they're trying to find the right pairing for you?
Say again?
So Gary's saying, if you can't find a Fever-Tree mixer that works,
Yeah.
you're not trying hard enough.
They are working on it. They are working on it. I'm meeting the rep on Thursday, and hopefully they've come up with a mixer that will work with it. But it'll probably just be a flavored soda water. That's which virtually is as close as you can get, because it's a lovely the mixer for this is the honey and anise. The honey and anise is such an intense flavor that really I don't know what you're going to mix it with.
Yeah, I haven't quite got to the honey anise yet. I'm still enjoying the cane spirit at the minute. Where do you get your molasses from? Because obviously we can't grow sugarcane here in the UK. So where does that come from? And is it the same for the honey and anise as it is for pure cane?
It's the same. It's nothing fancy, but the molasses is the best one that United Molasses, who are the largest importers of molasses in the UK. It is their refinery cane molasses that we get pumped into a 5-ton tank, and then we've got a small batching plant that mixes it out meters it out into a 1,000-litre mixer, and then we mix that all up, put the nutrients in it, and then put it into the 2 fermenters of 500 litres. And the still takes 500 litres. So each mix does 2 days distillation.
Gotcha, that makes sense. So on a scale of what we've seen and heard today, our first brand, which I don't think you're on the call for, they said they're doing something like 2,000 cases a year in all their kind of production they have. And then Lewis from Dropworks said he's got the capacity to do 2 million bottles a year. So where do you kind of sit? I assume you're much closer to the 2,000 than you are to 2 million.
We're tiny. I mean, we're only a seasonal distillery as well. So they've got a lot going on there, huge investment. We've made a seasonal distillery. We were very fortunate to have a redundant building of 10,000 square feet. We put our little 600 litre still in it, and we have tons of room for barrels, tons of room for fermenters, and hopefully in years to come, probably not with me in charge, but hopefully a younger one will be able to get the best bit of it out, you know. I lost you there. I think you've muted.
I'm muted. Really fantastic. I think I know how to use one of these things by now. Apologies. That's actually we've had what we do is essentially someone else comes in and takes over for the good stuff, right? That's why hopefully some of the younger ones will look after the great work that you've done.
Yeah, well, have we tried the honey and anise yet? Anybody? Have we had a little sip of that one? What do you think?
Let's go on to that then, guys, if we haven't already. Yeah, we've had a couple of a bit more feedback. I think Gary said there's been a saline green olive aroma in the pure cane, and we've had Kieran says honey and anise is pure blackjacks and the penny sweets when we were growing up. Gary's thinking white grape tonic might be a good mixer. White grape tonic might be a good shout. That's something I haven't tried.
Right. Well, some people say, why on earth do you make something with aniseed in it when 42% of the population can't abide aniseed? Well, the good thing is that the 58% that do like aniseed, they generally tend to love it. So we are selling nearly as much of the honey and anise as we are of any spice rum that we do. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I think it's a lovely local product too, with the local honey, the local rum, Northamptonshire. And okay, we can't get much local star anise, but we distill it on site and blend the two together. It's only got 2% of the star anise in it. So it's a very low level of anise, but it's a powerful flavor.
I think yeah, you're right to have done that. It is quite a powerful flavor. You only need a small amount. Yeah, and literally in the chat has proven exactly what you said, where We've got the trio of ladies who've come in and said aniseed balls is exactly the flavour that they've enjoyed. But then with Jen saying the anise is not for her. The white is lovely, but the anise is just not for them. Gary doesn't like the anise, prefers the pure plain. And I think that's actually a very good thing that you've got people that will like one. They should like both, but they'll definitely like one. And it's nice to have at least one of them that people are going to like, which really works well for a portfolio.
Yeah, well, you know, you've got to give people something else. I mean, just a plain unaged rum has its uses, but it's not a big seller for what we're doing anyway. You might say Bacardi will tell you different, but there you go. So we have to do other things to make that rum more appealing to the masses. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you do that very well. I think as you bring more people in who maybe don't enjoy rum that doesn't have any flavors, any additives, and they'll try that honey and anise, you'll be able to reach different kind of market, bring some people in, and then they go, oh, let me try what the base product is before the honey anise is added to it. So that way you're able to bring other people in and give them something that's flavorful, slowly changing the concept and perception of what people think white rum is also something that's very good for their category at the same time.
Yep. Well, I'm about done now, I suppose, and I would like to thank you both for having me on here, and you guys for all having a bit of a taste. I hope you enjoyed it, and well, there you go. So we've done our bit, and thank you very much.
I appreciate that, James. Thank you so much. How can you guys reach you if people want to get hold of Revive Rum? Where are you available, and what's your kind of price points? So that people can potentially buy what their favorites.
Yeah, well, roughly speaking, the price point you're under 40 quid for the white rum, just under 40 quid, and you're going to be 30 because it's only a 50 centiliter bottle for the honey and anise. We're currently at about 35, so it is slightly more, but obviously we're paying for the bottle. But we are going to be bringing that out in a 70 centiliter, the same in maybe 6 months, 12 months time, because we're getting a bit of interest for it. So we're going to have to start shipping a little bit about. That's basically where it'll be. It's not too expensive to make that one. Our spice rum is expensive to make. Honey and anise is just a lot of work. That's all that is. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
That makes a lot of sense because you have to make the white and then you're adding to the white. So yeah, it's definitely more work. Where can people buy either one of these?
Well, we are basically online to revivalrum.com. You know, that's where we'll have it on there. We were at Master of Malt, but it actually ended up being a rather not a very cost-effective venture going in there. So we are better off just doing it through farm shops and ourselves online.
Perfect. So jump on directly to Revival Rum and be able to pick it up straight from you guys directly. And that way you get all the support, and that way it helps you out more than working with other retailers.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Guys, any kind of final questions for James while we have him here? Very important, very useful to have one of the owners of Revival in case of anything. In that case, guys, and I say, James, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your products. Yeah, we know we can pick it up, and we will hopefully catch up with you very soon.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much, James.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Guys, once again, you've got a minute or two. Please rinse out your glasses. Giving us a bit of a change, just making sure Rohan is here with Inizi, which is very different. He's here. Fantastic. Thank you, Rohan. So what have we done so far this evening as a bit of a recap? We started in Cambodia by way of Florida. We then went to India. We then went to Nottinghamshire. We went back down to London. We went back up to Northamptonshire. Now we're going a little bit further south, down to Rwanda, to go see Inizi. Let me just make sure that people are back. And there's no empty screens from the one that I could see. Yes, I think they're good. So, guys, really excited to showcase a very small, very new brand from Rwanda. And we've got the amazing Rohan, who's here to tell us all about Amizi Rum. It's going to be very, very different. Please make sure your glasses are clean and rinsed out. But Rohan, it's lovely to have you. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm going to pass over straight to you.
Thanks so much, everyone. These days I spend more of my time crushing sugarcane than on Zoom calls, and so I've forgotten all of my COVID habits. I've lost. I don't remember where anything is. Can everyone hear me okay? Like thumbs up? Yeah, great, wonderful. So as Jazz and Indy said, we're a weird brand and frightfully small. But that's because we're really scrappy and ambitious and excited, but we're starting from really the ground up. As Indy said, I'm one of the founders of Amizi Rum. We are Rwanda's only artisanal rum product, and I'm really excited to talk to you about us. So I'll try not to talk your head off. Let's just try as much as possible to talk about the liquid. But to begin with, I think maybe the first question is why Rwanda, why rum? You got a bottle over there. I've got one over here, right? And then you've got a bottle on your screen. Rwanda, I moved here 3 years ago to start a distillery with the idea that basically Africa is such a big part of the cultural imagination. It's one of the most biodiverse and culturally diverse places in the world. And yet there are very few spirits that tell the story of this continent, the many, many stories. And so I moved to Rwanda and thought to myself, hang on a minute, there are farmers here growing sugarcane. I moved with the idea, I'll build a distillery. And when I started traveling the country, I noticed a couple of things. There are farmers growing sugarcane and doing nothing with it. There is a single sugar factory in the entire country. And that was really exciting to me. I love cane juice runs. I love how you can taste the land and the spirit of the place through an agricultural product like that. But one of the other things that really struck me about Rwanda, a country that I knew a little bit from my work here before, was that it's not like any other cane growing place where sugarcane, if you've ever been to the Caribbean or Haiti, the French Caribbean or parts of East Africa, sugarcane is always grown as a plantation, right? And that's also some of its history. It's always been part of a labor-intensive, extractive, slavery-inducing economy. But in Rwanda, sugarcane is grown like artisanally. It's grown as cottage industry on small plots by smallholder farmers. And outside of the sugarcane fields that mostly are grown in these really, really small plots in the valleys, the hills of Rwanda, it is called the Land of 1,000 Hills, are covered with this incredibly biodiverse rainforest. Rwanda is home to 15% of Africa's plant species and is only 0.09% of all of Africa's total landmass. And that to me was a wild provocation. Can we, if we're trying to take the concept of terroir seriously, can we make a product that only represents the cane that's growing in the valleys? How do I bring the cane in the valleys together with everything else I'm seeing? And for me, that meant we're going to make a botanical rum. So that's what we are. We start with fresh sugarcane juice. We distill it 2 times in a copper alembic to make like a juicy, white, unaged cane juice rum with some red fruit notes, some nice acidity. But then we take it a step further and half of the spirit gets redistilled 6 separate times with 6 separate botanicals, all of which are sourced from Rwanda. Half of them are indigenous to Rwanda. I'm happy to talk more about the botanicals later. Let's leave enough time for questions. But these herbs are a blend of herbs that have been introduced to Rwanda and become a part of, local cooking and become culinary herbs like rosemary. And some of them are actually medicinal herbs. And the incredible thing is, Rwanda has had this really tragic history of displacement, refugee crises, genocide. But there is still this really incredible local tradition of folk medicine. And so getting to meet these healers, learn from them what herbs they're using in their pharmacopoeia in traditional healing, and taking the fact that, as we all know, medicinal herbs are often flavorings as well, and start distilling with that was a journey of profound discovery. I've talked enough. I see people snifting and stuff, so let's just look at what we describe the nose and the experience as. On the nose, I think one of the things people notice is that it's very, very perfumed, very, very aromatic. There's no vanilla in it, but there is like a really redolent vanilla note that comes from a naughty East African herb that is thought of as an aphrodisiac locally. It's called mukomberu in Swahili. It has this beautiful vanilla tonka bean note. You're probably picking up some fennel as well. That comes from the toasted avocado leaf. And then there is something green and resinous and kind of pine-like. On the palate is when I get distinctive sugarcane flavor. You know, when I sip it, then I get, okay, I'm tasting a cane spirit, you know, some of that juicy green flavor. There's a bump of heat or some sort of spice. I would describe it as, it's not chili powder, it's more like black pepper or ginger, and then a long bittersweet finish that kind of feels like you're, you know, some of these French alpine spirits like Genepi might come to mind, some of these bitter, earthy flavors that kind of taste like you're chewing on bark or sticks or like soil. I was a little bit worried about insisting on a bitter finish because rum has an association as a desserty, indulgent spirit, but I feel like we're adults and we can handle a bit of balance. We can handle bitter with sweet. And for us, it was a really great way of driving the story home of, you know, I'm really excited about the prospect of pushing rum past the landscape of beachy spiced rum flavors or, you know, the tropics, Caribbean. We've seen plenty of rum brands show dancing women in bikinis. I'm interested in a rum that is instead alpine, herbaceous, and earthy, because if we can do a little bit to push the definition of rum, maybe we can advance the ways that people think and imagine the spirit to be. So in terms of serves, I think because it's an unfamiliar approach to rum, we try and lean. We in Kigali, I'm taking this call from Kigali now, where I live full time to manage the distillery and brand, and we have a tiny little cocktail bar where we do a rotating menu every month of 3 to 4 drinks. And so at this point, we've really tested the various limits of the spirit. And it's a spirit where you can do all sorts of things if you're an adventurous mixologist. But as our first introduction, we always suggest 2 classic serves because that's a great way to introduce an unfamiliar approach to a spirit that lots of people are big fans of. One of them is a daiquiri. So we just made a classic daiquiri, rum, lime. We do a semi-rich, but you could make it to your preferred daiquiri specs. Everyone likes them. Different ratios of sweet and sour. All we do is we do a little bit of saline in there. And that's like, for me, my favorite way to have it, because I find that a daiquiri is in of itself a really elegant drink and it suddenly makes sense. You know, it becomes, to take an unfamiliar spirit and transpose it into a familiar context becomes really exciting and fun. And then the other thing that we do, because it's so herbaceous and earthy, one of the things that started to resonate a lot with, in East Africa, you know, inherited from the British, there is a sundowner culture of gin and tonics, right? And when I first started drinking far too young at 13 and 14, gin and tonics were how I started drinking too. But a rum and tonic is an unusual serve, but it works incredibly well with Umizi. You know, pour in your favorite tonic, too sweeter or not too, maybe a little less sweet than usual, so you can taste more of the spirit. A squeeze of lime juice, really, really delicious. I think that, and then the last thing I think I'll mention before we start engaging in a bit more back and forth is, you know, I started this company when I was 27, I'm 30 now. It's ludicrous for somebody to say, yeah, he's going to put what little money he's saved into building a distillery in a landlocked country. But for me, one of the big opportunities was the opportunity to create a new value chain and create opportunities for people who have very little. The job I used to do before this was work with small farmers. And it became so apparent to me that if we can connect people, use a physical product to connect these small vulnerable farmers marginalized by climate change to a global consumer, we can do a lot of good. The slide here says that we pay commodity farmers 3 times the price of sugarcane. That's actually become 5 times, not because we've increased our price, but just because sugarcane prices are really, really variable and they have tons of volatility, but we stabilize that by just offering them the stable price that they've asked for year after year. You know, we're really excited about having created some of these incentives for the cultivation and preservation of these wild botanicals, and are looking into how we can grow them on the same plots as sugarcane and create even more biodiversity friendly method of cultivating cane. And then finally, every single one of my employees is Rwandan. These young men and women have learned to distill from scratch, have learned to bartend from scratch. And we're really small, not small but mighty, just small, but it's exciting and ambitious. It's exciting for us to see where we're started and hope that that impact can grow. Happy to pause here and then maybe take questions about production or whatever you might have for us.
Hey, Rohan, bro, just fantastic. I just wanna jump in quickly before we do the questions and just say, you know what, guys, I met Rohan. I randomly saw a podcast of a gentleman from Central Africa interviewing Rohan about rum and cane juice. And I reached out and I just said to him, like, please, like, can we have a little chat? Let me see what you're doing. You know, just obviously a connection of both being from, you know, Asia. For me, like, I don't know even if you said it, Rohan, how big is the pot still? Can you tell guys the story of how the pot still got to where it is?
Oh, it's so ridiculous. So, you know, importing everything becomes doubly expensive when you factor in that things have to come to first the seaport in Kenya or Tanzania and then get shipped across several hundred kilometers into Rwanda. So I was very certain, like, until I have found some plump, juicy investors to give us money, I am not spending on a still. So I brought with me in my suitcase the largest still I could fit, which was a 30-liter Alembic. This means that we do 3 to 4 stripping runs a day once our cane's fermented. We run about, in a week after fermentation, we run about 12 to 15 stripping runs, and that gives us enough distillate to then do 5 spirit runs. Our still is constantly running, and anyone who's worked in a distillery knows that this scale is not commercially viable, right? This is, but it's allowed us to get to market and put a product out that we're proud of, and, you know, at least get people excited about what we're doing.
Like, Rohan, like, if you look behind Kate, there's a clock. That means the still that you're using is the size of the clock behind her.
Yeah, just about.
Like, we're guys sitting in the UK as rum nerds, and we're hearing about Amizi rum at this early stage of your. I've seen your passion. I've seen the quality. We've tasted the quality of the fluid. I mean, we're just so proud to see what you're doing for African distillation. And, you know, as someone from the UK, bro, please continue to do what you do. It's fantastic juice. We want more African rum. We want more rum from outside of the classic places that we know. I'm just a 30-liter still. For you to get a 30-liter still with your cane, make it, ship it to me in London, and for us to distribute it around this call, that in itself is one of the biggest things in the whole call today. So just congratulations, and please continue to do what you do.
That's so kind, everyone. Jazz, and, you know, the rest of you might hate it. I haven't looked at the chat just yet, but it was fun explaining it through customs. They'd never seen a still before. And so they asked me, what is it? And my strategy was stubbornly not explaining it any further. It's a still, full stop. It's a still, full stop. Eventually they gave up and asked, is it for personal use? Yes, for now. Because I was distilling out of my backyard when we were first developing the recipe.
Listen, I've got like 10 questions, but that's not fair. Let's open it up. Guys, come off mute, throw some questions at Rohan. I guarantee in 10, 20 years, this guy's going to be something that we're all going to look back and say, do you remember that one Zoom call when we were on with Rohan, you know? So feel free to throw some questions at him.
Hey, Rohan. Firstly, just dittoing some of Jan's words. It's really, really great to hear your story. I actually am very, I noticed the connection. You went straight from Caribbean, you went to Haiti when you talked about products, and I can sense why you went to Haiti when you're talking about Rwanda, not only from the connection country-wise, but also the product-wise of what they create in Haiti and what you're trying to create with cane juice in Rwanda. Having drunk a lot of cane juice rums, there's something very, very different, which part of that comes from the botanicals, but a lot of that's down to the soil in which your cane is actually grown in. And I love the fact that you can taste the difference straight away. And so that's coming straight through in the notes in our comments. So we've got Andrew saying the nose is weird, he's getting talc, but he's never fully recovered his smell from COVID. People saying if this was a diffuser fragrance, they would buy it. And that kind of gives me notes. And I think the name is perfect by using the term forest. I think forest is very, very prevalent here. People getting sandfire on the nose, very fresh and light. Gary saying cinnamon forward for him. He'd like to try it with white cacao over ice. Normally not a fan of botanical rum, but this is great. Loving the authenticity of the product and the ethos of the brand. The ethos is very, very impressive. Added lime and honey by Amanda, and because it's absolutely lush. So that's a lovely kind of simple mix. I don't know if you know the sweet Palmer violets. They might be a British sweet, but the Garcias have said that, and then Kate's actually agreeing on, yet they get those similar kind of notes. Herby, floral, fresh, crisp, absolutely. Amanda's asking, is it available in the UK? We know the answer to that, having talked about 30 litre pot still is no, but I'll pass that across to you.
Yeah. First of all, these notes are so great, and some of them align so much with what we've received from other people. The samphire note, we get a lot of olive leaf or olive brine comparisons. Sometimes people detect something a little savory in there. I have never encountered Parma violets. I'll have to pick them up at Wetherspoons or somewhere next time in the UK. I'm in the UK. But we get a lot, we get cinnamon as a analog as well. I think it's quite interesting. Again, we don't use any cinnamon. I think what happens is sometimes the creamy custardy notes combined with any sort of woodiness show up and register on, in my brain at least, as cinnamon. And I think that's what happens for many people. I think it's quite, the woodiness and the creamy, some of the creamy notes, I think definitely create a cinnamon association for many of our drinkers. And the white cacao is a bang-on thing because we frequently make white Negronis with a little bit of creme de cacao, or old fashions with a little bit of creme de cacao as a sweetener. They're all great, fun ways. I think a white chocolate note works really brilliantly with the rum. I would say if you're playing around with it, the one thing it does not like is Angostura. I think because the drink has a fair bit of, the spirit has a fair bit of bitterness already, Angostura tends to introduce slightly more than is necessary. Is it available in the UK? We are working really, really hard on this year being the year that we start exporting. With a 30 litre still, the max we can do right now is 100 bottles a month at 50 centiliters. So that's not a lot at all. And most of that goes to local consumption. But we've been no, not at all. I'll tell you why, Forest Rum, in just a second. We've been stockpiling for a while. And so we're planning in a couple of months, hopefully sooner rather than later, to do 100 bottles to London. And then by the end of the year, we want to make that a regular feature. 100 bottles, each bottle in 50 centiliters. I know as well as every other brand owner that things need to be priced competitively in a competitive spirits market like the UK. But given these hard constraints on production, until we move into a larger distillery, retail, we expect that it will reach British consumers at £48, which is, not where I want it to be, but I think it's just where it has to be given the amount of care that goes into the product. For a little bit of context, our cane, in terms of the cost of raw materials, cane is just half of the cost of raw materials for us. The entire other half is all the botanicals that go into it, right? And that's what happens when you're working with fresh things that need to be foraged week by week, that are not available in large quantities. Great to hear. I love when people tell me I'd happily pay that. Music to brand owners' ears. Forest rum, great question. As I was saying at the start of the call, and I can say again, and maybe add a little more detail and color. Beyond the statistics around Rwanda's biodiversity, beyond this idea of what newness we can bring to rum as a category, it just feels like the most honest representation of this place, where the cane really only grows in the valleys where there's enough water for the cane, and then the hills are covered with subtropical, tropical, volcanic forest, right? And visually, you step out of a balcony in Kigali and you see these rolling hills with these beautiful forests. So trying to represent that experience of what does this place feel like and smell like? It's hills and valleys, it's fields and forests, it's mist and mountains, it's that green smell and taste. And so that's why forest rum.
Makes perfect sense. Keeps that culture of Rwanda at the forefront, which is very, very important. Why did you pick Rwanda? You mentioned you came to Rwanda, you were looking at, but why Rwanda specifically in Africa?
Great question. And also, Indy, I never acknowledged your reference to Haiti. I take a lot of inspiration from other distilling traditions and other rum traditions, and I think what's happening with Clairin is really cool. Recognizing Clairin as a spirit that tastes very, very different on various parts of Saint-Domingue Island, that different people make in different ways is fantastic. I think the one thing that I have noticed and bemoan is that I don't quite think a wider drinker's palate has caught up with all of the complexity that can come from still strength cane spirits. Some of them drink big, bombastic, high ester. These are delicious flavors, but hard to, I think, scale at or even achieve like some sort of critical mass. And I think with other spirit categories like agave, you see that happening, right? You first have early adopters, really passionate, really excited, and now you're seeing things that are at 40% ABV, 42% ABV, 44% ABV, but still resonating and having a sense of refinement and restraint and still interest, right? And so for us, I love our fresh unflavored cane juice, but I feel the same way that if we were to bottle that still strength, we would really be limiting how many people we can proselytize and tell the story of. And I think that's why we've gone, even with our cuts, they're a little bit narrower. We cut a little bit cleaner, trying to preserve the integrity of cane character, but also rein it in a little bit to play nicely with other flavors. Why Rwanda specifically? So a couple of things. I'm Singaporean originally, so the story just continues pinballing across the globe. I've always been very passionate about development and the process and inquiry into how poor countries get richer and how we widen access to livable incomes to the most vulnerable. And so I started working with smallholder farmers across many parts of East Africa. That was the first thing I did out of college and during college. And one of the things, Rwanda was one of the first places where I had a serious, slightly longish term engagement talking to farmers and understanding more about agriculture. So there is a little bit of a emotional, nostalgic, sentimental appeal to it. But beyond that, there are also good strategic reasons. You know, the biodiversity I keep on alluding to, I'm a brand owner and I'm a distiller, but I'm mostly just really excited about the opportunity to create and explore. And for me, biodiversity is a great proxy or substitute for measuring, are there interesting ingredients here? You know, they might be hard to find, they might not be as in wide amounts or availability as in larger countries, but the diversity means we can pick from interesting flavors and tell interesting stories. So that was, I think, the primary reason. And then the other thing I would mention, right, is I know Rwanda's been in the news for a lot of reasons recently, with a lot of the stuff with the diplomatic fallout between Rwanda and the Congo. But if you're here and you talk to people, you can't help but be inspired by this incredible optimism and powerful way in which people want to move past the genocide against the Tutsis in 1994. 1 million people were killed in 90 days, and it is not this feeling of let's sweep it under the carpet, let's forget. But there is this feeling here that's palpable that people want to remember, but people also want to be now known and remembered for a different thing. There's this great sense of ambition, optimism, and aspiration to a new version of this nation. And you know, if you're surrounded by that, if you meet people like that, you can't help but be inspired by that.
That is incredibly passionate, incredibly inspiring. The words, I think, even we've had a couple of people in the chat saying loving the passion that you've got for the Rwanda and the passion for Rwanda, the passion of the area is really shining through. Something which is really special, and I think it'd be really, really cool seeing more of what happens with Amizi going forward. We're very much at your birth of a brand. I personally would love to try your cane juice at some stage. Definitely, even if it doesn't end up in an official bottle, ends up in a bottle that says, I don't know, perfume on it or something, and I get to try it. I'm a happy lad. I'm really, really impressed. I think it's very special in what you're doing in a country that doesn't do anything on a tiny, tiny little still at 30 meters. And hopefully the future looks very bright, and hopefully people will really start to support. How is it being received in Rwanda? What do the population in general in Rwanda drink? And are they drinking Amizi, and like, is it something they're taking?
Yeah, so Rwanda has a really strong traditional brewing tradition, and so commercial beers and indigenous beers are largely how people have drank. And then because of the influence of Francophone culture through colonization by the Belgians and the French, there's a lot of old world wine that is drunk here, specifically from France. Spirits have like a bit of a bad rep, right? There's always been country moonshining, but it's always been thought of as illicit, low quality, et cetera, et cetera. But I think what we've found is people are really excited about this vision, like, you know, us being a part of this vision of a new version of the country. And by always ensuring that we've only sold locally so far, we haven't started exporting. And so we're only afloat because people have taken to it locally. And one of the big things that's really helped us is this tiny cocktail bar that we run, right? It's a cafe Mondays through Fridays, Thursdays through Saturdays. We flip bar stools over and turn it into a cocktail bar, and we rotate menus, but we always start with daiquiris, rum and tonics, Martinez's, classic rum cocktails, you know? And using that as an entry point that's a little bit more accessible to get people first interested in a well-balanced mixed drink, and then saying, okay, well, do you want to try this underlying spirit? And that's how we've been building a culture, a little subculture, a little cult following around Amizi. One quick thing I was going to mention. Indy, you mentioned being excited about trying the unaged cane juice. The other thing that we have on our horizons, as soon as we hold on to enough rum that we can put it in a barrel, is a barrel-aged expression of the rum. But in the same ways that we're doing unconventional, interesting things with the botanicals here, we want to continue pushing the fight like the frontiers of flavor and what we can imagine. And so one of the things that I've always felt is that botanical rums don't really belong in barrels. The combination of the wood and the freshness of the botanicals, it like sort of leads into this weird no man's land, in my opinion. So how do we do that? What we're trying to do is we're exploring smoke drying the botanicals with sugarcane bagasse, which feels like this really fantastic way. You know, there's a long tradition of using sugarcane fiber in barbecue. It has a really delicious sweet smoke. Smoke will mellow out those herbs and create these like new layers of complexity, right? So I think wood, thyme, smoke, and mellowed out herbs is going to be, for me, like a really winning, exciting combination.
Very cool. So you're going to go down the route of, rather than going with the stay with the typical, we're going to keep it with the herbs, but go with the herbs that are kind of aged, that are going to give you that smoke kind of flavor. Okay, it's a very, very interesting concept. I think, yeah, it suits right on brand for you. Forest rum makes perfect sense. Yeah, absolutely. There's been a few more comments in the chat that I don't want to miss as well. Gary earlier said layered with pistachio cream, it'd be like liquid baklava, which I think is actually very, very unique. I think that'd be very, very cool. And that's saying it's very special to try something so tiny so early. Jen saying not quite for her palate, but things will grow on her. So that makes sense. Stuart's loving your passion. Nat saying sign up for a bottle of milk right now. Gary saying smoke rum, where do I sign? So yeah, you've got a quite good feedback, I think, on not only what you have now, but what the future needs to hold as well. I like a little sneak peek into what the future could hold for Amisi as well.
Yeah, I mean, I am cognizant that we're at about 30 and it's late for everyone, but it's been such a joy and delight to share this with you and share our journey so far. Ways that you can continue to stay in touch with us. I'm sure the Rum Task team will be able to connect you to us. You know, we have a mailing list that I am woefully behind on updating. But we also have an Instagram, and like I said, we are trying to get a really, really modest, really blink and you miss it shipment of Amisi Forest Rum, at least 100 bottles in the first half of the year, and then maybe something more stable and predictable the rest of the year ahead. So if that's something that sounds exciting to you, really happy to share that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rohan. Really appreciate you joining us. I know it's, what is it, 11:30 there at the minute?
That's right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It is late in the evening. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing more of you. Looking forward to seeing more of Amisi as well, across the UK and across the globe, and hopefully maybe it's a bigger still to make your life a little bit easier too. Hopefully one day we'll get there. I'm sure. So yeah, thank you so much.
Cheers, everyone.
Take care. Thank you so much. Right. That was our penultimate rum of the evening. One last one left. Let me.
Who could that be? I wonder.
I wonder indeed. Rohan, if you could stop your sharing. Perfect. Thank you. Guys, if you want to grab, we've got one rum left in the evening. So if you need to grab a fresh glass, grab some water, grab a little food, little something, get yourself sorted. However, before we start, I'd like to do a little kind of recap and see what's been people's favorites so far.
Very cool.
So, just if you've enjoyed it, put it into the chat. If you enjoyed the Samai, either one of them, put a 1 in the chat, or 1 up. Sitara put 2, Dropworks put 3, From put 4, Revival 5, Amisi 6. Let's see where people are. It'd be really nice to get a little bit of feedback, seeing what people's favorites have been, what people are contributed to everything.
Oh, this is interesting. Andrew comes in with everything. Love it.
Andrew just did everything.
Pepper. I knew Pepper was going to do well. From Vicky, 2 and 4. What's 2 and 4, Indy?
Spitara's 2, From is 4. From Catherine and Sarah,
see?
ladies in the back. Very nice, very nice.
From is dope, man.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big
From
fan.
is dope.
Immediately from Nat is 4 as well.
Taste impressive. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Andy.
It's like everything. Yeah.
Exactly. 30 liters still. Imagine how hard you have to work to fill a barrel. You know what I mean? And this is all hand done. So it's like unbelievable.
I'll be honest, guys, really honest. I was not the drama for this event. This was the first time I tried a meeting myself as well. Everything else previously I tried, I've not tried a meeting before. I'm very impressed as well. So I think it's quite cool that you can come and try these really, really cool, unique products from small little distilleries or places like Cambodia from one side and going down to Rwanda. I think it's very, very unique. But loving your feedback. Thank you so much. All very different.
Oh,
big
I like that, Gary. Yeah, you know, Gary's right. Give us also what you don't like, because I appreciate what you do like, but we learn more from what you don't like.
It's very true. It's very true. There's nothing
Thank
wrong
you,
with this, but even James Green said it's only like 40% of the population who likes and eats. So 60% immediately going to say, "Oh no, get away from me." But those that do like it really like it. Jamie, John, you guys have been a bit quiet. Talk to us. Give us a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, there's been lots of people quiet tonight, actually.
What have you
Been
guys
a long
enjoyed?
day.
I'm just enjoying it. I'm a spectator today.
Don't be like that, man. Come on, we want your opinion. What have you loved?
It's all right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
The
Matt, you
first
been
ones.
quiet?
Go on, John. Tell me, John, what was your favourite?
The first ones we tried.
The Samai from Cambodia.
Yeah. I was really surprised with it and I really enjoyed it. And I'm embarrassed to say I've now found a rum that I don't like much.
Go on.
The last one.
The last one.
The Amizi.
The Amizi. Okay.
Yeah, there's something in it that I can't identify that it reminds me of floor cleaner.
Oh, and that's fine. You can't love everything.
Yeah.
You're gonna find things you like and things you don't, and that's the best thing with rum.
Yeah, it's all variety. Yeah,
It's tough when you really want to like it
yeah,
because you really love the story and you can just
Yeah.
picture Rohan in that beautiful forest setting with the mountains and hills, and you kind of want to be there. But
I mean, he's one of the most beautiful looking brand owners we've ever seen in the category.
well,
With long waving hair, yeah, don't be jealous.
He's got hair like Charlotte. Like, it's unbelievable, mate.
yeah, just have good hair. Yeah. But we can't all like everything, can we? And it's great to have the opportunity to try so many different things. As always with Rum Cask, it's the opportunity to try things. We invited some friends to join us and he said, "Well, I don't like rum." And I thought, but you haven't tried all this rum.
It's all right. You can find new friends. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, this is a guy who designs beer recipes. So you know,
I'm going to try and convert him.
He'll go to a brewery and they'll say, I don't know, if you're a Harry Potter fan, this makes sense. I want butterbeer, and he'll work out what to put in it to make it taste that way.
Gosh. I think as most people in this country, when you say to them rum, the first thing they think of is that moment when they were 14 and they drank Bacardi and Coke and threw up everywhere. And therefore, rum is like that one category most people don't go to. But it just takes one little tasty rum, something sweet and beautiful to get them over the first bit. Yeah. And then before you know it, they're drinking Worthy Park Overproof.
I'm sure there would be something that he would love in this selection. So this is something for us to work on with our friends.
Don't worry, I've got a couple of spare packs. He can buy one still. We've got another one coming if you guys are keen for it. But I guess before we go down that route, it's Indy's thing. He's the presenter.
Hi. Yes. Yeah. I think that's James. You were saying. I think it's actually what we really try and do. We have really kind of very different things on the core, and that's the whole point. That rum's so diverse that we'll have someone who's as passionate as Rohan, who will create something on a tiny little spill, or as passionate as Lewis, who's going to tell you about the rum category and what he thinks is good and bad. But then you have someone who's as passionate as Fro, who's going to sit there and go, no, my passion, my history, and what my childhood was. To people who are like, no, this is my heritage from Venezuela. And you'll get so many different stories that producing so many different products runs so diverse. You will like something. And I think getting them on the call is 80% of the battle. Because when we're here, we'll do the rest. Don't worry, we'll do the rest. You just get it. You'll do it. But I think that's given us enough time to have a bit of a chat, hopefully freshen up glasses to bring on our final rum of the evening. We're staying in Africa. We're moving a little bit now from East Central Africa to West Africa, into our final rum of the evening. And you all kind of know him, potentially have seen him. He's talked a lot this call already. Over to you, Jazz. We're going to talk about Bivia 2 and Nancy. And this is over to you.
Okay, so thank you, Indy. Firstly, massive thank you to my other presenters who have come today, done a fantastic job, showcased some fantastic products to some of the coolest people that we've come across in the category. This is probably the right moment to switch hat from my Rumcast hat over back to my Skylark Spirits hat. And I guess let me look through who's here. Everyone knows us, right? Who doesn't know us? Matt knows us, Gary, Kieran, hey Kate, Jen,
There might be one or two.
Nat, Andrea, Stuart knows us, Vicky from time. Hey Andrew, what's going on, bro? Big up, big up. The Garcias in the house. Yes, Charlotte, Jane and John, we know. Catherine, Helen and Sarah, the Fullers.
Jennifer and Chris.
You guys have been there from the beginning, from the beginning of COVID. Fantastic. So I guess you guys will know our story. Pardon?
Jennifer and Chris.
Ah, Jennifer and Chris. Let me see. Let me scroll. Let me try and find you guys. Oh, but your camera's off, man. What's going on?
Nita is new to you guys as well, but she's suffering from a bit of a cold, so she's sort of staying off camera because she's suffering, but she's doing her best to be supported by the rum.
Cool, perfect. And Nita's new as well. Hey, Nita. So for you guys and everyone else has basically heard our story, but me and Indy are super blessed. About 8-9 years ago, circumstances all came together, and from our Rumcast that you all guys have tuned in today, we moved to a secondary business which is called Skylark Spirits. And Skylark Spirits is the only exclusively rum business in the whole of the UK. So we're coming from people who are just rum nerds like you guys. We just like fantastic tasting spirit, but we're very open-minded. We appreciate where some rums sit with B&M Retail and Poundland, and some sit at Waitrose. And, you know, no matter what a producer wants to spend their life creating and putting their life behind, we'll support them in the category. Now, as you guys know, there's a whole bunch of rums that we import and distribute. Lots of changes over the last 12 months or so, you know, Compañero and SBS and the rum advent calendar have dropped away. Tobago Gold has dropped away. There's other brands that are moving away from where we are. And our core business has always been about actually just supporting the category of rum. So along our journeys, and I'm sure, I think most of you guys must have even bought a bottle. back, Indy, must be what, 8 years ago, we went to Compagnia de Inns, Floran's place, and we found a fantastic barrel of New Yarmouth, the forgotten distillery from Jamaica. Everyone knows Worthy Park. Everyone knows National Rums of Jamaica, but this was a little hidden distillery. It was some of the last stock created before it was sold on to bigger business to create the Ray and Nephew brand. And we stumbled across this beautiful barrel. We tasted it and we were like, literally pound for pound, this is some of the best rum we've ever tasted in our life. And we turned to Floron and we said, bro, we want to buy this barrel. And you know what he said? No, fuck off. So that barrel ended up going out and Compagnie de Inns single barreling in Denmark. It was something we tasted and we were just like, oh my God, well, what a fantastic rum. Fast forward 2 years later and me, Indy, Chet are standing in 1423 in Denmark, and there's a barrel of New Yarmouth in front of us, and we're thinking, you know, what can we do? We give it a little taste and literally put an offer into Josh, and we buy the barrel immediately. And I'm sure most of you guys have probably got a bottle of this beauty. If you haven't, it's probably in the last 5 years of rum, the best value for money rum I've ever seen. We should have sold this for £200 a piece. We let it out at 120. It was an absolute steal. But it was friends and family around us. We just wanted to share what fantastic rum was. Incidentally, that rum sold out super quickly, and now on resale sites, it's phenomenal price. So if you have got one, you want to sell it, I'm open for offers. Just give me a shout, yeah. So then about 6 years ago, anyone tried a rum called Rain Rum? Yeah, I see Nat nodding. Charlotte, you tried it? Rain Rum? No? Okay. So something that was a very discreet thing that I did today is out of all the rums that you've had, nothing has come from the Caribbean. Everything is non-Caribbean within that pack. Kieran's nodding. I think he must have clocked it early, but everything that we've given you is something different, something unique, something quite special. And the video dram that you're about to taste, please pour it open, clean glass, let this beauty light aerate. It's 61.3%. And so the concept with Vidya, our brand, this is, you know, we come to you guys all the time with a fantastic bunch of brands, everything that you've tasted today, everything you've tasted in the past, but Vidya is ours. This is mine, Indy and Chet's. This is something that we, along our journeys, when we find something fantastically delicious, we buy it. And either we buy it, we keep it, we put it out, or we try to do something special. We're not going to release the same old stuff that you're going to see from other independent bottlers. We're always going to do something a bit different. So the story behind this was, if you know the guys from Rain Rum, before they got the distillery, there was another bunch of guys who owned it. And there was a parcel of white, unaged cane juice rum from Central Africa, Ghana, that's multiple varietal cane, was created and sent to Denmark. At that same time, you guys may have even tasted it, but we did a Hamden DOK in a PX cask for Harvey Nicks. We literally bought the distillate fresh. We put it into the PX cask. We waited 1.5 years, pulled it out. The bottling went out to Harvey Nicks under the SBS banner. And I had this beautiful barrel that had PX cask with Hamden DOK. And I thought, you know what? Let me chuck in 200 liters of fresh sugarcane juice rum from Central Africa. And 5 years later, we drained it and we put it into this dram. Now, Again, our branding, our bottling is very different from other independent bottlers. As you can see, we've got the gold foil. Vidya as a brand name is an old Sanskrit language. So where you had Latin in predominantly Western Europe, you would have something called Sanskrit from probably actually a couple of hundred years before that over in the East. And Vidya means knowledge, truth, the absolute. And the concept behind this is we release every couple of years a special distillation of something that we've played on. The Anansi is a story going back to Ghanaian history from the 11th century. It is a beautiful, dark story about an angel having stories that he wanted, a human wanted to share with the rest of mankind. And the angel set a whole bunch of tasks for the human to go and achieve, including the capture of a leopard or the capture of a boa constrictor. It's a beautiful story. It's way more than we've got time for right now, so it's well worth a little Google. We try to do stuff differently. Big shout out to one of our childhood friends. I mean, we used to play together when we were 13, 14 together. Aaron Godwin Lamptey. If there's any social media you should follow tonight, Aaron Godwin. Indeed, chuck his socials in, please. My man is the most talented artist I've ever come across. And we're so blessed to be able to partner with him, to give him an idea of a dark story and for him to go away and create the most beautiful artwork that we then put on the bottle. Our labels cost £15. That's the cost of a bottle of Bacardi, just on our label, because we believe on the quality of what we're putting in has to be matched with the quality of the story. This Anansi only has 160 bottles, okay? There is probably about 80 bottles left. This is very much like, for our friends and family who love rum, like, check this out. Like, we tasted something, it blew our minds away. We just want you guys to taste it and see what you think. I think some of you guys have already tasted it, but I don't want to be that wanky dude, oh, it tastes like this, it tastes like that. Like, just have a little sip. For me, at the back end, that PX with that Dom rep and the PX with the Hamden DOK, with that cane juice is almost slightly effervescent. It's like a sweet fizziness at the back palate. But like everyone, whoever wants to come off your mute, like, let's just chat about it. You know, tell me what you think. Silence.
I'm driving, but I've been listening the whole time, but I'm still driving, so unable to try.
Amazing, Antonio. Appreciate it. I hope you're not driving too far.
No. I'm chilling. I'm enjoying. Thank you very much.
Love you. Thank you. Okay, so who bought the last one? Kate, you bought the last one. You tell me.
Yeah. So, trying this one, it's a lot sweeter. On the nose, it's a lot more forgiving as well. The first one, as soon as you opened it up, it was like a slap round the chops. In a good way, I will add, if there is a good way. This one's a lot more, it has more, I don't know, more subtleties and more depth to it, I think. I really love it.
See, normally when you present a spirit at 60%, there's a level of slap round the face. But on the entry, like when it first lands on your palate, it's so soft. It's almost honey sweet, which I've never had that from like you get that from like a Belize, you get that from like a sweet in Panama, but from Africa, This is, oh, it's the oldest African rum in the world, by the way.
I couldn't believe that it was, what is it, 62%? Couldn't believe that when I read it. It's so smooth, delicious.
I think it's very unique in the fact that you get the sweetness that comes from that PXS. You get the Jamaican notes that come from that barrel where it sat in the Jamaica. But there is that freshness which almost we had a similar freshness from the Newsy. You get certain levels of freshness throughout, so it's a very much of a journey of a sip. Very, very different to most things. Even the rain that I've tried previously, that is from that same distillery, it's completely different because of that barrel finish, I think. It's why we kind of really like it.
I mean, it's by far like right up there as the most boozy rums in the pack. So don't be shy to put a little drop of water or two into it, just to open up that flavor and let it really, really kind of fruity up. You know what I mean?
I think with this one, the video too, I could actually share that with some friends who are fairly new to rum and think that they could enjoy that. But the first one, I loved it, but I think you've got to be a bit of a rum nerd to appreciate that first one. It's very highest. Where this one, that first taste, you wouldn't believe it's 63%, and you know it's got quite a sweetness to it before everything else comes in, just before you swallow it. So yeah, it's very different, but you know, really good. But yeah, very different to the first video.
That sweetness at the beginning, though, it's sort of then it's like a whoosh, and then you've got this like really long finish, which I know I put my glass down probably a minute or two ago. It's still there. I could walk out do a lap of the house, come back, probably still there.
Good, good. Anyone got any questions? Anyone want to add anything?
I think it's dangerously drinkable.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I often surprise people with the fact that I'm quite happy sipping away at 60+% rums, without watering them down. But yeah, this one I could get through quite a lot before realizing that I'm actually smashed and I should stop.
Right, Richard look after you, it's fine.
Yeah, true.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you. If you guys want any bottles, just drop an email over to orders@skylarkspirits.com. You're all, I'm sure you're all set up on our system already. I'm sure you all are. Yeah, Amanda, definitely.
Few new ones in the chat as well. You can do that too, no problem at all. That will be able to do some listening on it. As Jazz mentioned earlier, there is probably I think about 80 bottles left. So half of it's gone in the first couple of months.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it'll be around too much longer. But yeah.
And also, if there was another rum that you've tasted tonight that you go, absolutely, that's like, I absolutely need it, just drop me an email and we'll try and sort something out for you.
But otherwise, are there any more questions? Anything else? Nat, when is the next video? Can we appreciate this first before we move on to the next one, please? Let's appreciate this. There might be something in the works, but in the meantime, let's appreciate what we've got at the minute.
Hey, Jazz, what's the price point on this?
This retails at $119.99, but I'll give you a 10% friends and family discount. Just drop the email over to orders@skylarkspirits.com. And that goes for everyone. That's just not for you, John. Sorry, that sounded rude.
Friends, if not family.
Yes, exactly. Everyone on here, that's kind of how it works. Well, you spend your time with us, enjoying it with us, and we try and give you the best that we can while you're here. Gary, the finish is like a really rich, juicy fruit cake. Yeah. Fruit cake is When's the next tasting? They want me to call them in a barbecue. I'm not gonna lie, that's from in a barbecue. I'm down for.
I'm down for a barbecue. I'm well
down
up for a Sky barbecue.
Like a gammon in that from that finishing with.
But we just
Lydia,
we just do it
Butterfly,
up front, so it's like unlimited. Like we make rum punch, we make like 50 liters, and for a set price, it's unlimited rum punch. You know, like I'm well up for that.
Can we just wait till it's a touch warmer though?
Mm.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. Like, give me like 6 degrees.
Okay.
I'll take 6 degrees.
All right. So, are you done with me wearing this hat? Oh, there's no sound.
Unless anyone else has any questions for Skylark Jazz. No, I think you can change your hat. I think you can change it. Not sure you can do a barbecue at Ronheim. We definitely cannot do a barbecue at Ronheim. It will be very.
It'll burn down, man. But we can find another venue. We can find another venue.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be able to do something.
But I want that jerk chicken.
You're the fair use policy, man. You're the fair use policy. If you can break fair use policy, I want to see it. I'm not looking after you when you're done, though. I'm just giving you a heads up now.
Do you see what Gary's doing? Can you see what Gary's trying to concoct? See what we're trying to say? I want that from brother to come with his barbecue sauce thing that he was talking about for that chicken.
Gammon,
all right,
gammon.
okay. Maybe we do something. All right, leave that with us. Maybe we do like a Rumcast barbecue. Yeah. All right, leave that with me. Okay, I love you, and I'm going to leave you.
Oh my gosh, sorry. The Damoiseau cans were for just enjoying, potentially having it over the night, or just kind of enjoying it. It was the cocktail extra for the pack that we thought we'd give you guys a little extra cocktail. So if you haven't had it and you're still drinking, by all means, please give it a crack. It is grapefruity Paloma, so it's very, very crisp, easy drinking. It is boozier than you think, so I warn you. It's tasty, but it's boozier than you think. But yes, that is just to be enjoyed. It wasn't technically part of the evening. It was.
Okay, the cans are available. Just drop a message to orders inbox. We can do you a deal on the cans too.
Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you all. It's been a lovely evening. I didn't think it'd get to 5.5 hours, but here we are. Was it 5.5, 4.5? Anyway, quick maths. Again, thank you so much. Anyone who wanted anything from us, from any feedback, if you can't get hold of the people directly, get hold of us. Info@rumcastazwell.com to get hold of us. Thank you so much.